continued to move other medicinal herbs. There was no way to respond to this, so Fang Qiuyan ignored him and went to call the accountant to come out for the registration. The accountant is a female comrade named Zhu Xiaozhu, who was recruited from the county and has 3 years of work experience. I heard that he was sick before, and his job was taken over by his younger brother, so he has been idle since then. It just so happened that the pharmaceutical factory was recruiting, so she came over. Now I live in the same dormitory with Fang Qiuyan. Fang Qiuyan weighed the herbs while she registered them on the side. And Chen Fengliang is a lively person. All the herbs, he also came to the scale and helped weigh the herbs while curiously asking some questions about drying the herbs. Drying the medicinal herbs is a job that the team has to do. When Fang Qiuyan saw him asking this, she thought he had never dried them before, so she began to explain it to him carefully. Chen Fengliang also listened very carefully and asked 1 or 2 small questions from time to time. After the talk, the herbs were weighed. Zhu Xiaozhu calculated the total for him and then gave him a bill. He would take the order back and hand it over to the team and take it to the factory to settle the cash once every quarter. Sister Zhu, you are really amazing. You are really good at calculating. After taking the list, Chen Fengliang praised Zhu Xiaozhu with a smile. No one doesn't like to hear good words. The same goes for Zhu Xiaozhu. Hearing his amazed praise, she smiled and scolded him. You are the only one who talks too much. Chen Fengliang smiled happily again and then said goodbye to the 2 of them. Sister Fang, Sister Zhu, I'm going back now. I'll come back tomorrow. He was clearly greeting the 2 of them, but his gaze paused on Fang Qiuyan for several seconds. Fang Qiuyan was moving medicine and didn't notice it. Upon hearing this, she waved at him and turned around to go about her business. Chen Fengliang's eyes flashed slightly, with some disappointment on his face. He paused before turning around and leaving. Collecting the medicinal herbs, it was time to get off work. After Fang Qiuyan received the tofu pudding, she went to the cafeteria to eat and then returned to the dormitory. Lin Wanshu arranged a double dormitory for her. In the entire factory, except for the security guard and a few male comrades, the rest are all girls. The dormitory area from the factory and the dormitory area is divided into male and female dormitories. The male and female dormitories are located in the east and west respectively, with a high wall in between. The 2 sides basically do not touch each other. It can be said that there is no need to worry about safety when living in the dormitories. In the dormitory are shared and are cleaned every day by an auntie who is in charge of sanitation in the factory, so they are quite clean. Living there for a while, Dohua has become accustomed to life in the dormitory. As soon as I got back to the dormitory, I happily put the bag in my hand on the table. The dormitory has 2 beds, 2 desks, and 2 wardrobes. Fang Qiuyan's desk was already piled with bags. Zhu Xiaozhu looked at them and couldn't help asking, Qiuyan, what's in these bags? Why don't you open them? Fang Qiuyan took a glance and then shook her head. I don't know either. Dohua brought it back. Although they lived in the same dormitory, she never mentioned anything about herself and Lu Jingsong. In addition, Zhu Xiaozhu was not a military wife, so she didn't know that she was divorcing her man. Hearing this, Zhu Xiaozhu continued, Why don't you help her keep it? She can't put it down anymore. How could Fang Qiuyan say that her closet was also filled with these bags? Not only can the table not accommodate it, but even the cabinet can't hold it anymore. Fang Qiuyan was not curious about what Lu Jingsong gave Dohua, nor did she want to see. But the things on the table really don't look good when they're placed there. I'll go find a box to put it in. Discarded boxes in the factory, and Fang Qiuyan picked up 2 of them. It comes in handy now. She got down to work right away. She brought back a box from outside and started tidying up the things on the table. Dohua saw her mother was helping her collect things. She squatted beside her to help, muttering to herself as she collected things. This is a tank, this is a plane, this is a bazooka. It turned out that most of the things in the bag were toys that Lu Jingsong made for her. In addition to toys, there are also a lot of candies and cakes. Mom, here's your favorite sweet-scented osmanthus cake. He picked up a piece of tofu pudding, opened the oil paper bag, and revealed the bright yellow pastry inside. Seeing the osmanthus cake in her hand, Fang Qiuyan was stunned. the bag of osmanthus cake he bought for her when the three of them went to the county together as a family for the only time flashed through her mind. Do Hua and Lu Jingsong are allergic to osmanthus and won't eat it at all.
So,
This osmanthus cake is not for tofu pudding at all. Fang Qiuyan blinked and stepped back reflexively as if she had been electrocuted. Do Hua saw this. He was stunned at first, and then his eyes turned red. Mom, why don't you eat it? Don't you like sweet-scented osmanthus cake the most? She had told her father secretly before. Dad bought a lot of things for Mom last time. Mom obviously likes it and is very happy, so why doesn't she eat it this time? Didn't she say that even if she didn't live with her father, she could still accept things from him? Fang Qiuyan saw her daughter crying and felt distressed. She quickly said to comfort her, Do Hua, Mom just had a meal and is not hungry yet. Put it aside and eat it when I want to, okay? Hearing this, the tears in Do Hua's eyes finally stopped falling. Well, I'll put it away for Mom. As she spoke, she wrapped the osmanthus cake again and put it carefully into the bag. Had just brought back the osmanthus cake. She had originally wanted to give it to her mother as a surprise later, but she didn't expect that she didn't look very happy. Tofu pudding is a little disappointed. Fang Qiuyan felt her depressed mood, and her heart suddenly ached. But she didn't say anything and continued to put things in her place. Next, there are a few more toys. Brings different toys to the staff quarters to play with her friends every day, and puts them back into the bag when she comes back. She knows all the toys in the bag by heart. Every time Fang Qiuyan took out an item, she introduced it to her, and soon her voice became cheerful again. Fang Qiuyan heaved a sigh of relief when she saw that she was no longer sad. I continued to open the bag in my hand, and what came into view was a water blue broad dress. And in the bag containing the skirt, there was also a watch.
wow.
Qiuyan, when did you buy this skirt? It's so beautiful, isn't it? Zhu Xiaozhu had just gone out for a while, and when she came back, she saw her holding a beautiful dress in her hands, and she couldn't help but speak with envy. Fang Qiuyan. She pulled the corners of her lips and said stiffly, It's not mine. Hearing this, Zhu Xiaozhu felt a little strange. It's not yours? Did you buy it for your family? It's really beautiful.
Can I try it on?
As soon as Fang Qiuyan finished speaking, Do Hua snatched the skirt away and held it tightly in his arms before she could say anything. No, this is what Dad bought for Mom. You can't try it. Hearing this, Zhu Xiaozhu looked a little embarrassed. So it was given to you by your man? And you're still saying it's not yours. Although Zhu Xiaozhu felt somewhat resentful of Fang Qiuyan for not telling the truth, she did not dare to say anything unpleasant in public. After all, anyone with a discerning eye can see how good the relationship between Fang Qiuyan and Lin Wanshu is. In other words, the vast majority of military wives in the entire factory are good friends with Lin Wanshu. As an outsider, no matter how much I talk and laugh with them on a daily basis, I can never compare to their kindness. Fang Qiuyan pursed her lips and didn't intend to explain anything. She put the skirt and watch in Do Hua's arms back into the bag. Zhu Xiaozhu had sharp eyes, and when he saw the watch, he became even more envious. Is this also a gift from your man? Qiuyan, your man is so good to you. She gave me a dress and a watch as a gift. If she could marry a man like this, she would wake up laughing in her dreams. Do Hua said proudly, My father gave it to me. He also gave my mother many other things. But my mother didn't even look at it and just put it in the cupboard. Hearing this, Zhu Xiaozhu became even more envious. But after feeling envious, she felt a little strange. Then why don't you live in the family compound? Instead, why do you live in the factory? She had heard that the military family compound was very close to here, and that military wives would sometimes go back to the compound after work at noon. After asking, I don't know what he thought of, and without waiting for Fang Qiuyan to speak, Zhu Xiaozhu continued. I see. You probably haven't met the conditions to join the army, right? Fang Qiuyan. She had said everything she wanted to say, so she simply didn't explain anything and just let her guess. Just thinking about what Do Hua said, that Lu Jingsong also gave her a lot of things, Fang Qiuyan became a little uneasy. After Zhu Xiaozhu took her clothes and went out to take a shower, She took out all the bags on the table and in the cabinet and opened them. Sure enough, there were vanishing cream, gauze scarves, pens, and even passbooks randomly stuffed into a bag. Fang Qiuyan. Biting her lip, she stuffed all these things back into the bag. Dohua, Mom has to go out for a while. You can play by yourself for a while. I will be back soon. After saying that, she went out with the bag. Dohua was playing with the toy he had just taken out. Upon hearing this, he replied without even looking up.
New.
It's not even 7 o'clock yet. The days are long in summer, and it's still bright outside. Fang Qiuyan carried the bag and hurried towards the family compound. Because she has not divorced Lu Jingsong, she is still free to come and go. But when he entered the door, the sentry on duty moved his eyes and a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. It was time to cook and eat, and she didn't meet any other military wives on the way, so she went all the way back to her original house. After entering the yard, it was very quiet. There were some weeds growing on the ground, making it look inexplicably desolate. Fang Qiuyan looked at this familiar yet unfamiliar yard and subconsciously tightened her hand holding the bag. Doesn't he live here anymore? When Lu Jingsong returned to the family compound, the sky was already a little gray. After a whole day of training, he was already stretched to the limit, but he still didn't want to rest. In the afternoon, after secretly following Fang Qiuyan and Dohua back to the factory, he went out for a run for half an hour. If Du Wangxian hadn't dragged him back, he wouldn't have wanted to go back home so early.
Back here?
My wife and daughter are not here. The house was empty, and every second he stayed there was torture. Lu Jingsong was like a wooden man without a soul, walking home in a daze. But just as he stepped into the house, his steps paused involuntarily, and his whole body stood still like a sculpture. Looking at the familiar figure in the yard, his face was full of disbelief.
Qiuyan?
He suspected he was dreaming. How could she possibly come back here? But even though he thought so, he still couldn't wait to walk towards her. Only when he got closer and smelled the familiar fragrance did Lu Jingsong dare to believe his eyes. Is she really back? Instantly, a wave of ecstasy swept through his whole body. Lu Jingsong looked at the woman in front of him greedily. She became more beautiful, but also lost a lot of weight. Didn't she eat well at the factory? In just a moment, countless thoughts flashed through Lu Jingsong's mind. In the end, thousands of words turned into one sentence.
Have you
Eaten yet?
If not, I'll make it for you.
He wanted to ask her why she lost weight. Although Lu Jingsong could see Fang Qiuyan every day, he was afraid of being discovered, so he didn't dare to get close to her and always kept a distance from her. I can't see clearly. Plus, she was wearing a loose factory uniform, so you couldn't tell whether she was round or flat. Looking at her much thinner face at this moment, he felt so distressed. Fang Qiuyan didn't know why she had to wait until now. It was not until he came back that she suddenly realized that it was almost dark. Hearing his concerned words at this moment, she felt like running away. But in the end, Fang Qiuyan still forced herself to stay where she was. No need. I just came to talk to you about something, and then I'll leave. Hearing this, Lu Jingsong's heart tightened. He inexplicably had a bad premonition. She stuffed the bag in her hand into his arms without saying anything. These are back to you. Lu Jingsong took the bag in a hurry and found that they were the things he had given away. Suddenly, he looked a little helpless.
Why?
Don't you like it? If you don't like it, can I buy you something else? He said humbly. After hearing this, Fang Qiuyan felt inexplicably uncomfortable. She looked away, barely suppressing the strange feeling, and said in a light voice, "It's not appropriate. I came here to tell you that I would trouble you to file for divorce as soon as possible." As soon as these words fell, Lu Jingsong's vision suddenly showed a hint of blood red. After a long while, he asked in a trembling voice, "Is this why you came back?" Uttered a low, Lu Jingsong laughed and looked straight at the woman in front of him. It was unknown how long it had been, so long that Fang Qiuyan couldn't help but wonder if time had stopped before he slowly uttered 2 words. Not leaving. Although she had a premonition that this marriage would be difficult to divorce, Fang Qiuyan couldn't help but blush with anger when she heard him personally refuse. A pair of eyes glared at him like fire. Lu Jingsong looked at her angry expression, but he seemed a bit abnormal and actually felt happy. Heart, he walked forward, held her hand and said, "Wife, let's not talk about divorce, okay? Let's live a good life without Fang Dongxue. I won't accept her letters or answer her calls anymore. I will make it up to you and the child in the future for what I owe you." But Fang Qiuyan, whose hand was held, felt as if she was burned when she heard Fang Dongxue's words. He suddenly pulled his hand back.
Impossible.
It's not good for anyone to waste time like this. I hope you will think about it carefully. After saying that, she left quickly without stopping. Lu Jingsong looked at her leaving back and felt a sudden pain in his heart. At this moment, he wished he could go back and beat himself to death from a few years ago. Why do you treat her like that? Gritting his teeth, Lu Jingsong picked up the bag and followed again. It was almost 8 o'clock and it was completely dark. Fang Qiuyan's mind was in a mess, and she didn't know whether she was angry or something else. Originally, she wanted to have a good talk with him about the divorce, and after the divorce, she would tell him what happened that night. But how could she have imagined that he would be such a scoundrel? Not only did he refuse to leave, he even dared to touch her. The road was pitch black and you couldn't see her hand in front of you. However, Fang Qiuyan had walked this road countless times. She could tell where it was with her eyes closed and was not afraid of falling into a ditch while walking. But she had not walked far when she heard familiar footsteps coming from behind her. Fang Qiuyan paused for a moment, then quickened her pace. But the person behind her seemed to be dependent on her. She quickened her pace, and he even faster. After a while, he actually followed her. Fang Qiuyan was both angry and furious. "Why are you following me?" On the dark road, Lu Jingsong's voice was full of innocence. "I just wanted to take a walk in the factory and didn't follow you." Fang Qiuyan, "Do you believe this yourself? Stay away from me." Although it was pitch black and she couldn't see anything clearly, she couldn't help but glare in his direction. There was a hint of helplessness in Lu Jingsong's voice. "It's not that I want to be so close to you, it's just that the road is too small." Hearing this, Fang Qiuyan was almost amused by him. A 2-meter wide road wasn't enough for him to walk on. In the end, she was too lazy to argue with him and quickened her pace. But the road was too dark. Fang Qiuyan opened her eyes wide, but still couldn't see anything. The road that she was so familiar with became darker as she quickened her pace. So quickly, when suddenly, she stepped on something and stumbled. "Careful." Lu Jingsong had been paying attention to her, and almost as soon as he finished speaking, he reached out and caught her. It was not known whether it was intentional or unintentional, but his hand tightened and Fang Qiuyan fell into his arms. The soft body pressed against his. Lu Jingsong couldn't help but sigh, his face full of nostalgia. Fang Qiuyan had lost count of how many times she had fallen down in front of a man. She wondered if he had some strange magic that would cause her to fall if she got close to him. Was held tightly in his 2 iron arms, which made her even more angry. Stepped hard on his foot. "Let me go." Fang Qiuyan's kick was really ruthless, but the man remained calm and even muttered something. "You don't eat enough, so it doesn't hurt at all." Holding her thinner body in his arms, Lu Jingsong felt even more distressed. Without giving her time to react, he simply picked her up and walked forward with big strides. Lu Jingsong now figured it out. For her, waiting slowly and giving things silently won't work. She was not moved at all, and even asked him for a divorce. In that case, it would be better to be shameless and just pester people directly. Fang Qiuyan never thought that he was so bold. He dared to carry her like this outside. Her hands pushed his chest subconsciously. She struggled and cursed in a low voice. "Put me down, or I'll call you a hooligan." Hearing this, Lu Jingsong couldn't help but smile softly. "Yes, I am a gangster. You can yell at me." Fang Qiuyan. How did he become like this? Isn't he afraid? By his words that she was speechless for a long time and even forgot to struggle. When Lu Jingsong saw that she stopped struggling, his heart suddenly surged. He was such a fool before. Why should she be alone at home and suffer silently? He should have held her tightly in his arms like this a long time ago, and then, the kiss at the kitchen door before, his breath suddenly changed. Fang Qiuyan realized something was wrong and was immediately shocked and frightened. Struggle using my hands and feet. Don't move. In the darkness, the man's low and magnetic voice carried an indescribable sense of depression. It was as if she moved again, he would do something she couldn't accept. Fang Qiuyan inexplicably thought of that wild kiss again. Suddenly, the whole person became stiff as a stone. How could he dare to move? Lu Jingsong sensed her fear and did not dare to act rashly. With a sigh, he bent down and kissed her hair. It's too dark now. I'm afraid you'll sprain your ankle. Be good. I'll let you down when we're almost to the factory. Is this what you mean by explaining to her? But Fang Qiuyan didn't want to listen at all, so she turned her head away. But the place on the top of the head that was kissed just now felt like it was burned. It was very hot. Lu Jingsong looked at her awkward appearance, and his heart softened incredibly. How can it be so popular? Even when she's angry, she's so cute. I really hope this road will never end, and he can hold her forever. Even though he slowed down his pace again and again, he still arrived very quickly. Away from the factory, Lu Jingsong reluctantly let the man go. As soon as she got off the ground, Fang Qiuyan couldn't wait to run away. But her arm was grabbed by the man's hot big hand. Fang Qiuyan was angry. What are you doing? Why don't you let go? Lu Jingsong grabbed her hand and put the bag she had just stuffed into his hand back into her hand. These are for you. If you don't want them, just throw them away. After saying that, as if afraid that she would stuff it back into her, he turned and left. Fang Qiuyan was left holding the bag, extremely angry. She raised the bag and wanted to throw it at him, but he seemed to have predicted something and walked very quickly. The next second, his figure disappeared into the darkness. Fang Qiuyan hadn't thrown away, yet just frozen midair. With one final stamp of her foot, she cursed before retrieving the bag. It's not that I can't bear to throw it away, but there is a passbook in the bag. He had told her before that there was more than $1,000 in it. Thinking she couldn't afford the compensation if she threw it away, she could only put it away angrily. I plan to throw the bag at his face next time. However, Fang Qiuyan did not wait for this opportunity. She originally thought that Lu Jingsong was so shameless that he would definitely appear in front of her the next day, but she didn't expect that she didn't even see his shadow in the next few days. The expected scene of throwing the bag back to him did not happen. Fang Qiuyan held her breath, feeling annoyed and depressed. Douhua's face was almost wrinkled into a ball, and he looked depressed. Seeing this, Fang Qiuyan no longer cared about Lu Jingsong and hurried to take care of her own daughter. Mom, my aunt said that Dad is on a mission, and we don't know when he will be back. I miss him so much. Douhua hasn't seen his father for several days and even speaks weakly. Fang Qiuyan. It turns out he was on a mission, no wonder I wasn't there. Just thinking about this, she felt annoyed again. His mission have to do with her? Why should she care about his whereabouts? Suppressing her troubled thoughts, she patted Douhua's head and comforted him. It's okay, your mother is here, and she can make you some beautiful toys. Heard her mother say she wanted to make a toy for her. She finally perked up. Fang Qiuyan took out the crochet hook and thread and quickly crocheted a small sunflower for her. Douhua picked up the sunflower, and his eyes instantly burst into amazing light. How beautiful! She held the sunflower in her hand and looked at it over and over again, unable to let it go. Mom, how can you do this? It's amazing! Douhua looked at Fang Qiuyan with sparkling eyes. She felt that her mother was becoming more and more amazing. Not only could she tell her so many stories, but she could also make such beautiful flowers. As long as you like it, this is what your Aunt Wanshu taught you. Fang Qiuyan saw Lin Wanshu crocheting socks and shoes for the baby and thought it was very interesting, so she learned a few things from her. When Douhua mentioned Lin Wanshu, his eyes were filled with admiration. When I grow up, I want to be as awesome as Aunt Wanshu. She can read simple stories now. Aunt Wanshu even praised her. Hearing this, Fang Qiuyan was very pleased. Well, Mom believes Do Hua will be as good as this in the future. Xiao Do Hua jumped around happily, holding her sunflower, thought of something and ran back to her mother with a cautious look on her face. She asked in a low voice, "Mom, can you make something for me?" Seeing her like this, Fang Qiuyan felt distressed before she even asked what it was. Patting her head, she said gently, "You are my daughter. If you want to do something, just say it. You don't have to be so careful." Hearing this, Do Hua's small face broke into a bright smile again. "I want to be a dad, in a military uniform." When talking about his father, Do Hua's face was also filled with admiration. "I know my father's a soldier, and he drove away the enemy."
How amazing!
Do Hua had never seen his father before and didn't know what his father did. Later, after she joined the army and often played war games with her friends, she finally realized how powerful her father was. And her father is not only awesome but also so good to her. "I miss my dad, can you make one for me?" At the end, Do Hua pleaded cautiously again, as she listened to her daughter adoringly talking about how good her father was. She didn't want to hook Lu Jingsong out at all, but when she met her daughter's anxious look, she couldn't say no. Sighing inwardly, she nodded. "Well, but it will take a few days. I have to ask Aunt Wan Shu for advice. She is still a novice, and it is good enough for her to be able to crochet a sunflower." When Do Hua heard that her mother was willing to make one for her, she jumped for joy. Very good. In the next few days, Fang Qiuyan worked on the production while crocheting a figure in military uniform according to Lin Wanshu's teachings. In the family compound, Su Menjing kept a low profile for a while and then started to dress up again. Various colors and styles, and I can change them all over the week without repeating them. After a long time, the military wives couldn't help but grumble in their voices. "What do you think the deputy political commissar's sister-in-law wants to do by dressing like that every day?" Fang Bailey felt a little unhappy. Every time Su Menjing passed by the staff quarters, her husband became a little absent-minded. This made Fang Bailey couldn't help but wonder, could it be that Su Menjing came here intentionally to charming her man? Who knows? I don't think she is a quiet person. Su Mingqi looks so reserved. How could she have such a sister? The clothes she wore were so tight around her waist and made her chest look so puffy, as if she was afraid that others wouldn't know she had a lot of flesh. His butt wiggles when he walks. To put it bluntly, what's the difference between her and someone who comes from a brothel? During this period, the men in the family compound were a little restless, which made the military wives very unhappy, and they spread unpleasant words behind their backs. However, due to Nanjing's identity, they did not dare to tell the Nan family. Plus, Su Mingqi is a low-key person who doesn't like to visit others. I don't know what kind of rumors about Su Menjing are spreading outside. Su Menjing is a person who thinks highly of herself. She really enjoys being noticed and admired by men. She didn't take the sour words the military wives said behind her back to heart. He still wanders back and forth in the family compound every day. The reason why she was so high-profile was, on the one hand, to show off her charm and let her good name spread in the army, and secondly, of course, she wanted to find an opportunity to create an encounter with Qin Yan. Hard work pays off. After working so hard for so long, Su Menjing's reputation has indeed spread in the army. Everyone knows that the deputy political commissar has a beautiful sister-in-law. However, the chance encounter she wanted to create was never successful.
She didn't know what was going on.
She had been walking around the staff quarters for such a long time, but she couldn't run into Qin Yan. Even when I went to Lin Wanshu's house, I rarely ran into him. In the end, Su Menjing had no choice but to block him on the road he had to take to go home. In order to charm people at once, she wore a cheongsam today. The fitted skirt perfectly outlines her curvy figure. To match the dress, she tied her hair up, put powder and lipstick on her face, and looked as delicate as a blooming flower. Su Menjing was very satisfied with her outfit. Coming to the road between the military camp and the family compound, she hid behind a corner and began to wait silently. Not long after, soldiers came out. She was standing in a very clever position, with not only a wall but also a tree, which just happened to cover her figure. Su Menjing poked her eyes out and searched carefully. But there were too many people, and she couldn't help feeling a little anxious. With so many people around, how can she implement her plans smoothly? Just as I was thinking this, I noticed that there were fewer and fewer people, until all the soldiers had left. Su Menjing felt a little strange and lost. Is he not going back to his family compound today? Otherwise, why hasn't he come out for so long? Just when Su Menjing was extremely disappointed and was about to go back home, suddenly, that familiar tall figure appeared in the distance. Suddenly, her eyes lit up and she felt that even God was helping her. Otherwise, why didn't he show up with so many people just now but appeared at this time? Isn't it obvious that you want to give her a chance? Su Menjing lay dormant, excited and nervous, counting his footsteps silently in her heart. Until the footsteps were getting closer and closer, and only 2 steps away from passing here, she screamed and rushed outside.
Ah!
Help! There's a snake! Su Menjing had already calculated that according to the distance Qin Yan had traveled and her SP of rushing out, she would definitely fall accurately into his arms. By then, he will definitely be fascinated by his own outfit. After all, so many men in the family compound were fascinated by her, and she didn't believe that Qin Yan would remain indifferent. Therefore, in order to have the most beautiful encounter, she even carefully designed her rushing posture. It shows off her plump and attractive figure to the fullest. Su Menjing screamed at the top of her lungs and pounced towards the army green figure with precision. Help, there's a snake! With tears in her eyes, she held on to the man tightly with both hands and tried to push herself against him. Her pretty face turned pale, and as she looked so pitiful. But just when Su Menjing was feeling very proud that her plan was flawless, she heard Chi-Chi scream in her mind.
Ah!
You idiot, can you look carefully before you jump? You hugged the wrong person. Wrong person? Su Menjing seemed unable to understand what she said. How could he have picked up the wrong person? Qin Yan was the only one on the road. Just as I was thinking this, suddenly, a strange and embarrassing voice came from above my head. Comrade Su, are you okay? Where is the snake? Let it go first, I'll go check it out. Clearly heard that the voice was not Qin Yan's, Su Menjing still didn't believe it. How could she have pounced on the wrong person? With her eyes wide open, she looked up and saw a dark and honest face.
Ah!
Hooligan. This time, Su Menjing's scream was very sincere. The high decibel sound is so piercing that it hurts the eardrums. By her, was completely at a loss. I'm not. I didn't. It was clearly she who threw herself into his arms, so how could he call him a hooligan? You are. If you are not a gangster, why are you hugging me? Su Menjing was a little overwhelmed. She put one hand on her waist and pointed at his nose with the other hand and cursed. She looks like a shrew. How can she be elegant at all? Hearing the shouting and cursing, the soldiers who had already walked away came back one by one. After finding out what happened, Gao Wangjin looked at Li Yicheng with a serious face. Lao Li, what's going on? Li Yicheng was like a dumb person eating bitter herbs, unable to express his grievances. Facing the scrutinizing eyes of the crowd, he said in a tone that sounded like a bamboo tube pouring beans. I was just passing by here fine, and Comrade Su suddenly rushed out and said there was a snake there. As for the fact that she hugged him just now, Li Cheng saved her face and didn't say anything. But he didn't say anything. Su Menjing turned the tables and said, I was scared, but you can't hug me. You're being a hooligan. This is a serious matter. Being a hooligan is a serious crime, not to mention that he was wearing a military uniform and hugging a female comrade like this. No matter how you look at it, he is not in the right. Instantly, the faces of several soldiers became solemn. They are comrades in arms, so naturally they don't want to see Li Yichen make any mistakes. Old Li, tell me what happened just now. Out of emotion, Gao Wangjin did not directly accept Su Menjing's one-sided statement and asked Li Yichen again. I really didn't hug her.
I just passed by here.
She hugged me herself. Look, she rubbed so much powder on my clothes. Li Yichen felt that he was more wronged than Do Yi was just going home. Why did a disaster suddenly happen? What did he do to offend anyone? Heard that he dared to say that she had rubbed his powder all over her body. She immediately got furious. She even insisted that he was a hooligan and hug her on purpose. Naturally, Li Yichen was unwilling to take the blame, so he argued with reason. If she really accuses me of hooliganism, it's not only a matter of whether I can keep my job, but I might even have to go to labor camp. But he didn't even hug her, so how could she swallow this? But just now there were only Su Menjing and Li Yicheng here, and there were no witnesses. A while, the husband said he was right, and the wife said she was right. No one would give in to the other. But when it comes to the reputation of girls, Li Yichen's argument is of little use. If he still can't produce evidence, there is a high probability that he will be convicted of hooliganism. A moment, Li Yichen was so angry that he wanted to strangle this inexplicable woman to death. Where on earth did this crazy woman come from? It was clearly she who threw herself into his arms, but she insisted on accusing him of being a hooligan. Did she do this to trick him on purpose? The soldiers watching the scene saw Li Yicheng looking frustrated and angry, so they knew it clearly. He was probably being wronged. After all, they are all brothers in the same trench. How could they not know what kind of person he is? But why did Su Menjing wrongly accuse him? Just as the two were arguing, the surrounding soldiers were all worried about Li Yicheng. Suddenly, a cold voice came from outside the crowd. I think Coach Shun, and I can testify to this. Hearing this, everyone turned around reflexively. Then I saw Qin Yan and Shin Shuwen standing outside the crowd with serious faces. When Su Menjing saw Qin Yan, her heart skipped a beat and she immediately had a bad feeling. Can he testify? Did he just see it? When Li Yicheng heard that Qin Yan could testify for him, his eyes immediately turned red. Deputy Captain, please tell everyone that I really didn't hug her just now. I am innocent. He has fought in the army for so many years, shedding blood and sweat. If he was unjustly discharged from the army, he would never be willing to die. Ever since Qin Yan stood up, Su Menjing's face turned as pale as a ghost. How is that possible? She clearly didn't see him just now. Where did he see it? Just as I was thinking this, I saw Qin Yan pointing at a tree opposite. I was just talking with Instructor Shin there and happened to witness the whole process. Comrade Li Yicheng passed by here, and it was this female comrade who rushed out and hugged him. As soon as these words fell, everyone was in an uproar. These days, Su Menjing dressed up beautifully and wandered around the family compound, and many men couldn't help but have dirty thoughts about her. Now when they heard that she had wrongly accused someone for no reason, they couldn't help but feel scared. How could this be a beauty? She was clearly a poisonous snake. In a minute, when Su Menjing heard that Qin Yan had really testified for Li Yicheng and exposed her lies, her eyes suddenly went dark and she felt a little shaky.
No.
It shouldn't be like this. How can you say that? He's obviously the one being a hooligan. Seeing that she was still stubborn, Shin Shuwen smiled coldly. Comrade Su, if you don't want others to know, then don't do it. Do you think the trick you just used is perfect? Then you will be disappointed. Not only did Deputy Regiment Qin, and I see it, but the sentry over there can also testify for Comrade Li Yicheng. As he spoke, he pointed to the watchtower in the distance. Sure enough, there was a soldier standing there on sentry duty. And what a coincidence, his face was facing this way. In an instant, Su Menjing's legs went limp and she fell to the ground. It's over. It's all over. Qin Yan witnessed her framing Li Yichen with her own eyes. How could she get close to him in the future? When the surrounding soldiers saw Su Menjing fall to the ground, they subconsciously stepped back and had no intention of helping her up. Just kidding. Regardless of whether this woman is beautiful or not, she is really poisonous. If they helped her, and then she turned around and accused them of being hooligans? Thinking of this possibility, the soldiers took another step back, as if she was some terrible viral plague. When Su Menjing saw their reactions, she felt like the sky was falling. Her efforts these days were in vain. Chi-Chi, why didn't you tell me in advance? Did you make me pick up the wrong person? Su Menjing cursed in her mind in a state of collapse. Qiqi was even more devastated than her. I shouted, but you didn't hear me. You just kept throwing yourself into that person's arms. What on earth is your brain made of? How can there be someone as stupid as you? What sin had she committed? How could such a host be tied up?
Impossible.
I didn't hear anything. Su Menjing felt that she was just making excuses. Didn't you say you were great? Why can't you even do such a small thing? What's the use of you? Ever since she came to the family compound, nothing has gone her way. She has never suffered so much in her life. A moment, Su Menjing's mentality was a little broken. Tears and snot flowed out uncontrollably. She had put on her face rubbed onto Li Yichen's body, ruining her makeup beyond recognition. Now that she was crying, she looked even more disheveled. But no one sympathized with her. After all, she still remembered clearly how she had wrongly accused Li Yichen. But she is Nanjing's sister-in-law after all. Although everyone is dissatisfied with her behavior, they can't do anything about it. Finally, Shin Shuwen left a sentence, "Take care of yourself," and everyone left without staying for long. The evening, Su Menjing, dressed in a seductive manner, threw herself into Li Yichen's arms and accused him of being a hooligan. Somehow, the news spread throughout the family compound. Guan Hongmei almost exploded when she heard that Su Menjing was hooking up with her man. If Li Yichen hadn't stopped her, she would have definitely gone to the deputy political commissar's door and cursed. "Do go find her. This woman is poisonous. Stay away from her." Originally, Li Yicheng thought that his wife was unreasonable enough, but when he met Su Menjing today, he realized that there are always people better than you. With such a comparison, he even began to like his own overbearing wife. Guan Hongmei snorted. Although she agreed not to look for Su Menjing, she had already decided in her heart that she would teach her an unforgettable lesson. It's so shameless. Who had always lived a reclusive life, also heard about the good things his sister had done, and was so angry that he almost fainted. What a curse! What a curse! Why did she do this? Those were the brothers with whom her man had been through thick and thin, yet she went and framed them for being hooligans. Is she crazy? Nanjing's face was also very dark. Usually takes great care of his wife, but this time, he rarely went forward to comfort Su Mingqi. Menjing is already 25 years old, not young anymore. You are already a mother of 2 children at your age, but she is still causing trouble everywhere. If you can't make it, you should let her go back early. Our temple is small and can't accommodate such a big Buddha like her. After saying this, he put on his military cap and went out with a sullen face again. Left sitting on the stool, holding his chest, feeling like he was almost unable to breathe. Su Menjing stayed in her room, still a little dazed. Why is this happening? She had clearly planned everything out, but in the end, not only did she fail to accomplish anything, her reputation was also ruined. How proud she was of her good name spreading among the troops a few days ago, how scared she is now. What would they think of themselves? Qiqi, tell me, why is this happening? Why am I so unlucky? In my mind, Qiqi's voice carried a barely perceptible hint of guilt.
But
maybe Feng Qiuyan's luck has become stronger, which is why it has affected you. It's Feng Qiuyan again. Su Menjing clenched her fists, and her eyes looked like they were filled with poison. Don't go looking for Qin Yan for the time being. Take care of Feng Qiuyan first. When her luck weakens, you can get twice the result with half the effort. Su Menjing agreed with this when she heard it. Okay, I'll listen to you. I'll ask that person to pet up his actions later. Keep dithering like this. When will Feng Qiuyan's reputation be ruined? The two were whispering to each other. There was a knock on the door. Menjing, please open the door. When Su Menjing heard that it was Su Mingqi, her heart tightened. A feeling of uneasiness surged in her heart. Sister, are you okay? I'm taking a rest. Su Mingqi seemed to have guessed that she would not open the door, so he did not force her and just stood at the door and started talking. I have discussed this with your brother-in-law. I will send you to the train station in 2 days, and you can go back to Eastern Province. Heard that he was trying to chase her away again. she almost burst into tears. "Sister, I don't want to go back. Why do you insist on driving me back?" She had suffered such a great injustice, but not only did she not comfort her, she even drove her away. As expected, this is what happens when they are not biological sisters. If it was Fang Qiuyan today, would she still chase people away? Seeing that she insisted on staying here and refusing to leave, Su Mingqi became so angry again that he saw black spots in front of his eyes. But she was a stubborn person, and it was useless to persuade her, so she finally stopped trying. Instead, he prepared to make a phone call and ask his parents to come and take her back. In short, she couldn't stay here any longer. Su Menjing didn't know what Su Mingqi was thinking, but seeing that she agreed, she continued to stay there with peace of mind. Next few days, Fang Qiuyan discovered that Chen Fengliang from the downhill team was a little too enthusiastic. Every time I delivered medicinal herbs, I would bring some food for her. Righteously refused every time, he still enjoyed doing it. Still happy to bring delicious food. Sometimes it is glutinous rice cake, sometimes it is papaya, and sometimes it is an egg. Soon, people in the factory began to look at her in a strange way. However, Fang Qiuyan only spent a short time with the army, and most of her time she was either doing her own work or studying at home. Getting along well with Lin Wanshu and a few other military wives, she was not very familiar with most of the other military wives. She didn't know that they had already started talking about her in private. I was wondering why Fang Qiuyan had to live in the factory instead of the family housing complex. Now, it seems something is wrong. Who says it's not true? There was a wife like this in our team before. She looked down on the man at home and thought he didn't know how to be warm and cold. She only liked the kind of men who were good-looking and spoke well. Could it be that Fang Qiuyan moved to the dormitory just to meet this pretty boy? That's probably the case. Otherwise, why would she refuse to go back home despite so many people trying to persuade her? Yang Zheng has a good relationship with Fang Qiuyan and is also a bystander. When she heard these words, she immediately got angry. "We are all from the same family compound. How can you say such nonsense? If these words get out, will Qiuyan still be able to live as a human being?" They were chatting animatedly, but they didn't expect Yang Zheng to suddenly appear. They were all startled. When he came to his senses, Xian Quan greeted her awkwardly. "Hee, it's Yang Zheng, have you eaten?" Yang Zheng was so angry that she was exhausted. How could she have the mood to eat? With a straight face, she said seriously, "Qiuyan and Captain Lu did have some conflicts, but what does this have to do with other people? We are all women and military wives. Don't you know how much these words hurt her?" It was just hearsay, and no one had actually seen what happened between Fang Qiuyan and Chen Fengliang. However, this romantic topic was too explosive, and Fang Qiuyan's performance in the factory over the past month was too outstanding. When people thought of her humble and cowardly appearance when she first came to the army, they suddenly felt a little subtly uncomfortable. Out of some dark psychology, when they heard the rumor, they spread it without waiting to confirm it. It seemed as if this could prove that Fang Qiuyan was not as good as she appeared to be, or at least her character could not stand up to scrutiny. Originally, everyone said so they followed the discussion without any psychological burden. But when they heard Yang Zheng's angry rebuke, everyone present felt very guilty.
Yes.
"I'm sorry, Yang Zheng. I just heard someone say that, and I made a few comments." Xian Quan lowered his head and apologized awkwardly.
I'm
sorry too." Others followed suit and apologized. Yang Zheng's face still didn't look very good. "The person you should apologize to is not me, but Qiuyan." After saying that, she didn't even eat and prepared to go find Fang Qiuyan to tell her about the situation. But Fang Qiuyan had already gone to the county with the factory's purchasing department and was not in the factory at all. It turns out that Lin Wanshu's pharmaceutical factory not only produces ointments, but also several types of pills. One of the raw materials was shipped from other place, so Fang Qiuyan needed to go and test the sample. 2 people rode over on a bicycle. Su Yuan was riding the bike in front, and Fang Qiuyan was sitting behind. Bicycles in this era are purely a means of transportation. It is normal to carry one person on a bicycle, and there is no such thing as having to be in a relationship before you can ride on a gay man's bicycle. Moreover, the back seats of bicycles are widened and enlarged. Fang Qiuyan held the frame behind her with her hands and was very careful not to get close to Su Yuan. Su Yuan was recently recruited. I heard that he was an educated youth from Qianpa Brigade and also a college student. He was not only good at math, but also eloquent. Lin Wanshu handed over all the purchasing and sales work to him. Fang Qiuyan had been doing the job of receiving medicinal materials with him these past few days, so naturally the two of them became more familiar with each other than with other people. Su Yuan is also a talkative person, but he looks decent and his words and actions are very measured. Fang Qiuyan also had a good impression of him. The two chatted about sales all the way. On the other hand, Lu Jingsong returned to the army exhausted. Without even having time to go back to his family compound, he couldn't wait to come to the factory. That night, despite her objections, he carried her directly to the factory. After Lu Jingsong returned, he was nervous all night. I was just planning to coax her nicely the next day, but she unexpectedly went to another emergency training session. During these days of training, his heart was in a state of anxiety, and he could not have a moment of peace. He was afraid that if he delayed his return for a few more days, she would ignore him even more. After finally returning to the army, how could he stay there? He immediately ran to the factory to wait for someone. It was just time to get off work, and Lu Jingsong was afraid that the military wives would see him asking questions, so he stood in the corner, waiting for Fang Qiuyan attentively. But Fang Qiuyan didn't wait for it, but waited for rumors about her. Do you think Fang Qiuyan wanted a divorce because she had her eyes on Chen Fengliang or Su Yuan? Although Yang Zheng had warned several military wives, there were too many people in the factory. She alone couldn't stop the gossip. As soon as they got off work, the military wives began to talk in low voices again. I guess it's Su Yuan. He's a college student, good-looking, and of the right age. Didn't you see how well they were chatting? But what about Chen Fengliang? Why does he send her gifts every day? Who knows? Maybe because she's pretty and she's getting divorced, he wants to take her over. After all, she's a skilled worker now and earns a good salary. Even if it's her second marriage, she's still very popular. Lu Jingsong was waiting for Fang Qiuyan with great anticipation and anxiety, but he never expected to hear such words. What do they mean? What divorce? What second marriage? Fang Qiuyan has fallen in love with another man? When he thought of this possibility, Lu Jingsong suddenly felt a surge of blood in his throat. How could the military wives have imagined that there was someone standing in the corner? All the way, they returned to their family compound in groups. Lu Jingsong's dark eyes searched the crowd intently, but he could not see Fang Qiuyan. Thinking of what he had just heard, that another man also lived in the factory dormitory, he suddenly couldn't stay there anymore. It happened that at this time, most of the military wives had left, and there was no one else on the road. Lu Jingsong walked hurriedly towards the factory gate. Just as I stood still, I saw a bicycle coming towards the factory. The person riding the bicycle is a man wearing a white shirt and black trousers, and if the person riding behind him is not Fang Qiuyan, then who else could it be? Seeing this scene, Lu Jingsong felt a fishy and sweet taste in his throat. Did she really fall in love with another man? And even rode on his bicycle? Fang Qiuyan was sitting on the back seat of a bicycle, on which there was a wooden stick with a sack tied to each end. The road was not easy to walk on to begin with, and my butt was hurting from sitting on the back of the bicycle. Now there is a wooden stick, and although it is placed at the back, it still hurts a lot. As soon as the car stopped, she jumped out impatiently. But she was pricked all the way, and as soon as her feet touched the ground, she felt like countless ants were biting her, and she felt numb and painful. She almost couldn't stand.
Careful.
Su Yuan was about to reach out to help, but someone was one step faster than him. I turned my head in surprise and met a pair of cold and hostile eyes. Thank you. I can help my wife myself. Fang Qiuyan? He come back. Just thinking about this, Fang Qiuyan couldn't help feeling a little depressed. What does it have to do with her when he comes back? Especially when she thought about how he dared to carry her away like that night. Fang Qiuyan wished she could stay away from him. Let go. With a low scolding, she struggled to pull her arm back. But her resistance was seen by Lu Jingsong as confirming what the military wives had just said. Is she really attracted to this pretty boy? When he thought of this possibility, Lu Jingsong's face turned as black as the bottom of a pot. Not only did he not let go, he tightened his grip and pulled her directly to his side. Seeing that something was wrong, Su Yuan got out of the car quickly. "Comrade Fong, what's going on? Do you need my help?" As he spoke, he looked at Lu Jingsong with caution. When Lu Jingsong saw him acting like a flower protector, his eyes were so cold that it seemed as if they could pierce through him. Unnecessary. Does he think he is? Fang Qiuyan felt that what happened between her and Lu Jingsong was a private matter and she didn't want to trouble others, so she shook her head. It's okay. Just send the herbs back to the factory. Su Yuan was still worried, but since Fang Qiuyan didn't want him to interfere, he had no choice but to reply. Okay then, call me if you need help. After saying this, he pushed his bicycle back to the factory. After he entered, Lu Jingsong could no longer hold back and asked through gritted teeth. Who is he? Fang Qiuyan rolled her eyes and pulled her hand back forcefully. It's none of your business. Hearing this, Lu Jingsong sneered. You are my wife, do you think it has anything to do with me? Fang Qiuyan ignored her and turned to walk towards the staff quarters. She had to pick up Do Hua. Lu Jingsong was furious. I wish I could catch her and give her a good spanking. How can it be so infuriating? With a dark face, he followed her. Along the way, neither of them spoke, and they returned to the family compound in silence. However, Do Hua, who always waited for her obediently at the door, was nowhere to be seen today. After Fang Qiuyan waited at the door for a while, she still didn't see her come out. She had no choice but to go in and look for her. Lu Jingsong followed her from beginning to end. His eyes were dark and no one knew what he was thinking. Fang Qiuyan didn't care and planned to find the tofu pudding quickly and go back to the factory. It's not long since we got off work, and the family compound is full of people. Saw Fang Qiuyan and Lu Jingsong coming back together. They were all shocked. Then they greeted the two of them one after another. Fang Qiuyan moved out of the family compound in a huff, and now she's surrounded by so many military wives. It would be a lie to say she isn't embarrassed. But she still calmly responded to these greetings, whether curious or tentative, one by one. Lu Jingsong was in a bad mood and hardly spoke along the way. If eyes could become material, Fang Qiuyan felt that a hole had been stared out of her. But she didn't care about all these and went around looking for tofu pudding. I know where the tofu pudding is. When I met Xiao Wangwei on the road, he spoke enthusiastically. Where? Fang Qiuyan couldn't find tofu pudding anywhere and was getting a little anxious. Upon hearing this, she hurriedly asked. She said she was tired and wanted to go home and sleep. Home? Fang Qiuyan subconsciously looked towards the house where she used to live in the staff quarters. She go back there to sleep? A moment, Fang Qiuyan didn't know what to feel. Thinking that there was a dangerous person following her, she didn't want to get close to the house at all. But she couldn't really not go looking for tofu pudding. She would definitely be scared if she couldn't see herself at night. Finally, Fang Qiuyan gritted her teeth and turned around and walked towards her original house. Behind him, Lu Jingsong's eyes flashed. Then he raised his foot and followed. But the steps seemed inexplicably more urgent. The two returned to their home, one after the other. As soon as they entered the door, Fang Qiuyan saw the room where she had slept before, which was half open. You don't have to think about it to know that tofu pudding must be in it. Fang Qiuyan walked quickly towards the room and saw the small figure curled up on the bed. When Fang Qiuyan saw that extremely insecure sleeping posture, she couldn't help but feel a lump in her throat. She stood at the door without moving for a long time. I don't know when my eyes turned red. At this moment, a pair of strong arms wrapped around her waist, and then the man's hot body pressed tightly against her. Wife, please come back. We can live a good life, from now on. The hot sigh, along with the man's deep and rich voice, penetrated into her eardrums. Fang Qiuyan felt as if her tailbone was electrocuted. The roots of his ears instantly turned red, as if blood was dripping from them. When Lu Jingsong saw this, his aura became disordered. Looking at the delicate ear, he couldn't help but kiss it. While kissing her, he coaxed her. Look, Dohwa also likes this place. Even if it's for her, why don't you move back? Fan Qiuyan had never been kissed on the ear in such an intimate way before. The electric shock almost made her unable to stand. If the man's arms hadn't been holding her tightly, she might have slipped. Realizing this, she felt ashamed and embarrassed. She felt that she was really spineless. He just coaxed her like that, and she was actually shaken. Thinking of this, Fan Qiuyan couldn't help but struggle again. Let me go. I want to take Dohwa back. Seeing that she still refused to give in, Lu Jingsong's eyes became more bloodshot. Why not? Is it because of that man just now? When he thought of the scene of her sitting on the back of that man's bicycle, Lu Jingsong's blood suddenly boiled again. Don't let go. After saying this viciously, he lifted her little face and kissed her. Divorce him and marry another man? She shouldn't even think about it. Unless he is dead. Fan Qiuyan never thought that he would suddenly kiss her. She was stunned on the spot, until she felt the domineering and aggressive aura that she suddenly came to her senses. Stomped on him hard, but the next second, she was turned around and picked up, with her legs lifted up and hung on his waist. The sudden weightlessness made her scream out in surprise. He subconsciously wrapped his arms around his neck, fearing that he would fall backwards and break his neck on the spot. But this made the two people's postures even more ambiguous. Especially when she felt some unspeakable burning sensation. She was so embarrassed that she wished she could faint on the spot.
You
are obscene. She stepped her head back and stayed away from him. Fan Qiuyan cursed in shame and anger. But the man who heard this couldn't help but laugh out loud. You are my wife. If I am not rude to you, am I still a man? As he spoke, he carried the person towards his room. Fan Qiuyan was scared to death. I couldn't help but started struggling again. Don't want. Her trembling voice sounded like crying, and her little face, which originally had a pink blush on it, now looked a little pale. You can tell at a glance that he was scared. Lu Jingsong looked at her pitiful little appearance, and his heart felt like it was scratched by a cat, sore, itchy, and painful. He didn't know what to do with her. Sighed in frustration, and muttered something. I really can't do anything about you. Having said that, he let the man go. Fan Qiuyan was put down. She stepped back reflexively and looked at him defensively. Lu Jingsong was so angry at her that he almost laughed. Finally, for some unknown reason, he threatened her. If you stare at me again, I'll kiss you. Fan Qiuyan's eyes widened when she heard this. She looked at him with disbelief on her face. It was as if he was suspecting that he had been switched. When Lu Jingsong saw her, he just thought she was so cute. Then he teased, You liked it just now too, right? You don't know how sweet, fragrant, and soft your little mouth is. Fan Qiuyan couldn't bear it anymore, so she raised her foot and kicked him hard. Lu Jingsong, you pervert. The word, rogue, cannot describe what he did. Who was kicked, couldn't help but burst into laughter. Fan Qiuyan had never seen him smile so happily before, and she was stunned on the spot. I have to say, Lu Jingsong actually looks pretty good. His slightly rugged facial features are angular and full of masculinity and toughness that are unique to men. He is not that kind of effeminate beauty, but rather a handsome man with overflowing hormones. Laughing like this makes you seem even more heroic. Fan Qiuyan felt her heart was pounding out of control. After Lu Jingsong finished laughing, he looked at her cute appearance and couldn't help but rub her head. If you don't want to come back yet, I'll wait until you are willing. Fan Qiuyan pursed her lips and turned her head away. I'm going to take some tofu pudding back home. It's too late, and there's no food in the cafeteria. Hearing her voice, which had obviously softened a lot, Lu Jingsong couldn't help but feel a surge of warmth in his heart. He lowered his voice and coaxed gently. Dohwa is tired from playing. Let her sleep for a while. I'll go cook. We'll eat here tonight. I'll take you back later. Fan Qiuyan wanted to say no. She wanted to go back now. She just didn't know why. The words were on the tip of her tongue, but she just couldn't say them. Lu Jingsong is a man who will take advantage of every opportunity. For him, not refusing means agreeing. He didn't hesitate and put his arm around her waist and walked towards the kitchen. As he walked, he said, "I've been cooking a lot lately, and my cooking skills have improved a lot. I'll show you how good it is later." Fang Qiuyan wanted to pull his shameless hand away. But the man was so overbearing that he didn't even give her this chance. He took her into the kitchen and sat her down at the dining table. "Just wait here, I'll be done soon." Having said that, he went to put the rice in and wash it. Fang Qiuyan watched him become much more proficient in washing rice, and a complex look flashed to her eyes. She didn't know why she listened to him and stayed. Clearly agreed to stay away from him. The final result turned out to be like this. On her lips. When she thought of the scene just now, Fang Qiuyan's cheeks turned red. Lu Jingsong had already put the pot in the stove and started a fire. Just when he was about to ask her whether she wanted fried eggs or steamed eggs, he turned around and saw the charming face of a woman with a rosy face. His Adam's apple rolled up and down, but he didn't dare make a sound, for fear of waking her up. He just stared at her blankly. What is she thinking about? Why is your little face so red? Thinking of the scene of picking her up just now, his whole body was tense and painful. But the woman finally softened a little, and Lu Jingsong didn't dare to act rashly. "I'm afraid she'll get angry and ignore me again." In his life until he was 26, he had never been so obsessed with a woman as he was now. Even Fang Dongxue, who almost married him, couldn't make him so anxious and infatuated. Lu Jingsong couldn't imagine what would happen to him if she really divorced him. "She is so beautiful and outstanding." Just like other military wives said, even if she leaves him, she can find another good man. But he couldn't accept it at all. When he thought that she might marry another man, he couldn't help but feel a surge of rage in his heart. She can only be his. I turned around and went to the chicken coop on the firewood pile. I hadn't been back for a few days, and the chickens had already laid several eggs. Since his wife and daughter were both here, Lu Jingsong simply didn't ask any questions and planned to make fried eggs and steamed eggs together. Taking the eggs, he took out some dried salted fish from the cupboard. The salted fish is sea fish, which was sent by his comrades in the coastal areas. It's a pity that it's late, otherwise he would like to buy some meat. Being in a good mood, Lu Jingsong worked very efficiently. Fang Qiuyan couldn't help but frown when she saw that he just casually put the salted fish into water to wash it and then prepared to fry it. However, she had no intention of taking over and just turned her head away, trying not to see it. In the quiet kitchen, the only sound could be heard was the crackling of burning firewood. Lu Jingsong was afraid that the person would run away, so he was worried even when frying an egg and would look back from time to time. I don't know how long it took, but I heard Do Hua's surprised voice outside the yard.
"Dad."
"Are you back?" Hearing that her daughter had woken up, Fang Qiuyan quickly stood up and walked out of the kitchen. When Lu Jingsong saw this, he didn't care that there were still eggs frying in the pan. He put down the spatula and chased after him. Do Hua was happily running to the kitchen, but she didn't expect to see her father and mother coming out of the kitchen together.
"Mother?"
When she saw Fang Qiuyan, her little face showed surprise and delight. Fang Qiuyan was a little embarrassed, but still waved at her. "Come here, Mom will tie your hair." Her hair is like her, growing very fast with some nutrition. In just half a year, she can tie it up. I just woke up and my hair is a mess. When Lu Jingsong saw that Fang Qiuyan had no intention of leaving, he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. I also said heko to Do Hua. "Come on, tofu pudding. Dad will make you some steamed eggs. You can eat soon." Do Hua looked at his father, then at his mother, and finally he dared to believe his eyes. She really wasn't seeing things. Mom is home? With Dad? Just like other people's dads and moms? When Fang Qiuyan saw the surprise and anxiety on Do Hua's face, she felt a sudden pang in her heart. Certain persistence also quietly collapsed at this moment. She felt a little uncomfortable just moving back like this. The meal was just as expected, it was just cooked and the quality was really not much better. However, Fang Qiuyan didn't have much appetite, so she just ate a little bit casually. After she finished eating, it was almost dark. "We're going back." She had things to do and didn't plan to stay any longer. Hearing this, a hint of disappointment flashed across Lu Jingsong's eyes. But he knew that today's situation had been too radical and he couldn't force it anymore. He had to take it slow. Thinking of this, he nodded. Okay, I'll take you there. Dohwa walked between his father and mother, and the smile on his little face never disappeared. Fang Qiuyan had something on her mind, so she didn't say anything and just listened quietly to the father and daughter chatting. But even if she didn't say anything, Lu Jingsong was already extremely happy. Looking at the two, one big and one small, his heart seemed to be filled with something. The three of them walked slowly. Fang Qiuyan was a little absent-minded along the way. When she turned the corner, she almost bumped into someone. Fortunately, Lu Jingsong, who was standing by, reached out and pulled her up. After Fang Qiuyan stood still, she looked up at the person who came with some apology. I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention when I was walking just now. Did I bump into you? Ding Suya was about to say it was okay, but after seeing the person opposite her clearly, she was stunned. Indescribable throbbing surged in my heart. When Su Mingqi saw that it was Fang Qiuyan, he quickly said, It's okay. It's normal that you can't see clearly in the dark. Where are you going? Fang Qiuyan felt it was a little strange that the middle-aged woman didn't say anything. But she didn't say anything, and just smiled at Su Mingqi. Let's go back to the factory. We have some work to do in the evening. Su Mingqi had just returned from the station after picking someone up. Logically, she should have been in a hurry to take her mother back to rest, but for some reason, she couldn't help but care about Fang Qiuyan. You still have to work so late? No wonder you've lost so much weight.
You need to get more rest.
Your health is the capital of revolution. Hearing this, Fang Qiuyan nodded gratefully. Thanks for your concern. I will. After a brief chat, Fang Qiuyan didn't stay any longer and just said goodbye and left. After Su Mingqi watched the family of three leave, he held Ding Suya's arm and said, Mom, let's go back first. However, Ding Suya's eyes were still following that figure. Even though the man had disappeared into the darkness, she still couldn't come back to her senses. Su Mingqi saw that her mother looked strange and couldn't help but ask with concern, What's wrong? Is there something wrong? After asking twice in a row, Ding Suya finally seemed to react. She retracted her gaze, rubbed her temple and said, It's okay. Maybe I was a little carsick just now. The roads here are all mountainous, and the military vehicle was going uphill and downhill. Ding Suya was shaken so much that her stomach felt uncomfortable. Really confused. Why did she feel that the girl looked so much like her mother when she was young? Ding Suya's mother died in the war when she was young, leaving her siblings to follow their father all the way to the eastern province before they settled down. Although my mother died early, she left behind a photo. Ding Suya had seen it in her father's study before. When she suddenly saw the female comrade at this moment, she couldn't help but be stunned. Hearing this, Su Menjing felt extremely distressed. Then let's go home. I just made some soup in the pot. I'll heat it up later. If you drink a bowl, your stomach will feel better. Having said that, she took her arm and walked home. After a while, Nanjing followed with her luggage. It turned out that when the car was parked just now, it seemed that there was some minor problem with it, so he asked Su Mingqi to take Ding Suya back to the family compound first. It seemed that it was done now, so he stepped forward and supported Ding Su's other arm. Hey, I'm fine, just a little carsick. A night's sleep will be enough. Ding Suya is extremely satisfied with her son-in-law. He has good character, ability, and a good temper. There is really nothing wrong with him. Mom, it's rare for you to come here, so let Nanjing show off. If you don't let him help you, he might not be able to sleep well at night. Nanjing, who is usually calm and composed, couldn't help but feel a little nervous when facing her mother-in-law. Instead of refuting his wife's joke, he nodded in agreement and said, Mom, you've had a hard time riding the bus. Let me hold you up. The sister-in-law refused to leave no matter what, and Nanjing was helpless. When he saw Ding Suya at this moment, he felt like he had seen a savior. What Su Menjing did a few days ago has spread in the army. Even political commissar Su Kongnian had a few words with him. Nanjing had never been so embarrassed in his entire life. If it were someone else, he would have 100 ways to make her leave. But this person was his daughter-in-law's younger sister, so he was restricted and couldn't do anything to her. A moment, I was extremely upset. Ding Xia still doesn't know what good thing her little girl has done. Seeing that she was not returning home for a long time, and that she had indeed not come to Lan County to see her eldest daughter, he followed Su Mingqi's suggestion and made this trip. Su Mingqi still wanted to save face for Su Menjing, so he didn't say anything on the phone. She asked her mother to come over just to ask her to persuade Su Menjing to return to East Province as soon as possible. Because she didn't know about Su Menjing, Ding Xia was in a relatively good mood. The three of them returned home. As soon as I entered the door, I heard a cheerful voice. "Grandma is here." As soon as he finished speaking, two figures, one tall and one short, ran out of the kitchen. Ding Xia was also very happy when she saw her two grandchildren. "Oh, my dear grandson, like Grandma, see if you have grown taller?" It turns out that Su Mingqi gave birth to two sons. The elder one is named Nan Jingyuan, who is 9 years old this year, and the younger one is named Nan Zhenghui, who is 7 years old this year. Although they are young, they were thrown into the army for training by Nanjing very early, and they rarely play in the staff quarters on weekdays. The family of four had not returned to Eastern Province for 3 years. How could Ding Xia not be excited when she saw her two grandchildren? After the 3 generations of grandparents and grandchildren met and reminisced about the past, Ding Xia then asked about her little girl. "Where's Menjing? Why can't I see her?" Hearing this, Su Mingqi fell silent. Her son was shouting so loudly just now, but Su Menjing didn't hear it at all. Although he felt a little disappointed in his heart, Su Mingqi did not show it on his face. "She should be in the room. I'll go call her." "Mom, please go sit in the kitchen first." As he said this, he asked his eldest son to heat up the soup in the pot. Then he turned around and called Su Menjing. In the room, Su Menjing was talking to Qiqi with an excited look on her face. How could she hear what people outside were saying? "You mean my plan has worked?" Ever since she got into trouble, she has rarely been around the staff quarters. She ran out of the staff quarters every day, and no one knew what she was doing except Qiqi. Qiqi's voice also sounded very excited. "That's right. I detected that her luck is declining. Tell Chen Fenliang to try harder and add fuel to the fire." After living in the family compound for so long, this was the first time everything went so smoothly. Even she couldn't believe it. Is there any need to ask? Su Menjing wished Fang Qiuyan would be ruined as soon as possible. Only when Fang Qiuyan was disgraced could the topic of the family compound be diverted away from herself. She will do a few more good things to restore her reputation. By then, she would have a better chance of winning when she attacks Qin Yan. The two were whispering about their next action plan when suddenly, Su Mingqi's voice came from outside the door. "Menjing, come out for a moment, Mom is here." Although Su Mingqi asked her to wait in the kitchen, Ding Xia hadn't seen Su Menjing for so long, so how could she agree to do that? Following Su Mingqi, he came to the door of Su Menjing's room. "Menjing, come out for a moment, Mom is here." Su Mingqi knocked on the door and said. But just as she finished her words, she heard Su Menjing's sharp voice coming from inside. "What did you say?" There really wasn't a hint of surprise or joy in that tone. Su Mingqi had gotten used to what she had been doing recently and didn't find it strange. Instead, Ding Xia on the side couldn't help but frown. What does this kid mean? Not welcome to come? Before she could think about it, she heard the sound of footsteps from inside. The footsteps came closer and closer, and soon arrived at the door. Then, the door was opened with a swish. Su Menjing almost burst into tears when she saw that it was really Ding Xia who came. "Mom, why are you here?" Su Menjing's voice was filled with shock and frustration. How could she come here? What if she ran into Fang Qiuyan? Su Menjing dare not underestimate the bond of blood. Seeing that she really didn't welcome her, and it wasn't just an illusion, Ding Xia couldn't help feeling depressed. "You haven't been home for so long, and you hung up on the phone after only a few words. I just wanted to come and see you, didn't I?" But when Su Menjing heard this, she was not moved at all and felt very annoyed. "I'm not a child anymore. Why are you so nervous?" "I'll go back when I've had enough fun." "No, She had to think of a way to get Ding Xia to leave the army as soon as possible. If she knew that Fang Qiuyan also had a butterfly birthmark on her shoulder. She had come all the way here with great enthusiasm to see her little girl, but not only did she not appreciate it, she was also so impatient. For a moment, Ding Xia didn't know what to feel. When Su Mingqi saw her mother's lonely expression, she felt even more distressed. Menjing, how did you talk to me? I've been sitting in the car for so long to see you that I'm carsick. You could just say a few words of concern, but why are you talking like this?
You.
She wanted to say that she was such a disappointment. But in the end, she didn't say this. Ever since Su Menjing found out that she was not her biological sister, she had a very subtle feeling in her heart. I felt that all the kindness she had shown me in the past was just fake. Isn't his true face exposed now? Don't think that she doesn't know that she was the one who called Ding Xia here. She just doesn't like her and wants to drive her away. However, Su Menjing still had some rationality and did not say these words out loud. Instead, he forced a smile and said, "Mom, that's not what I meant. I was just worried that you wouldn't be able to handle it. I was a little hasty just now.
Please don't be angry with me."
As she spoke, she walked forward and took Ding Xia's hand, acting in a coquettish manner. Ding Xia could tell that her words were not sincere. She was her daughter after all. What could she do to her? Thinking of this, she clapped her hands, sighed and said, "You are not young anymore. Why haven't you made up your mind yet?" The two girls have had completely different personalities since they were young. Su Mingqi is quiet and highly self-disciplined, so she doesn't have to worry about him at all. Su Menjing has been a crybaby since she was a child and has a domineering personality. Although she has become sweeter and can coax people later on, there has not been much change in her essence. How could she not know what kind of person the child she had watched grow up was? But after all, it was her own child, so she couldn't help but be more tolerant. Su Menjing curled her lips, feeling very dissatisfied. It turns out that this is what happens when the child is not your biological child. In her eyes, Su Mingqi was perfect in every way, but when it came to her, she was just disobedient and ignorant. But she still endured these words. "Mom, didn't you say that no matter how old I am still a child in your heart? Why did you change your mind so quickly?" "I won't agree." Seeing her acting like a little girl, Ding Xia couldn't help but soften her heart. Forget it. Why should she bother with her? Didn't we already know that she has been like this since she was a child? A brief period of tension, the atmosphere quickly turned into a joyful one. Who was smiling, couldn't help but plan to take another drastic measure in her heart. We must make sure that even if Ding Xia recognizes Fang Qiuyan, she will regard her as a shame and dare not acknowledge her. Ding Xia's coming to the army only caused a brief ripple in the family compound, but things soon returned to calm. Because everyone's attention has been attracted by a bigger news. Have you heard? Our family compound is going to set up a chicken farm. Early in the morning, people who heard the news ran around telling others. Really? Where did you hear that? Lao Shizue said with a look of surprise. I heard from Hualan that the chicks Wan Shu gave to the troops were so good that the higher-ups decided to expand the scale and pet up the breeding of these broiler and laying hens. There was no way, they were really short of meat. The only time in the whole year when we can enjoy a good meal of meat is during the Chinese New Year. It is difficult to have any meat on ordinary days. If this kind of chicken, which has such excellent egg-laying and growth performance, can be promoted nationwide, you can imagine how many people's nutritional problems it can solve. The superiors attached great importance to this and directly approved a document requiring the scale of breeding to be expanded as soon as possible. I also heard that the chicken farm is going to recruit 10 people this time. Upon hearing this, everyone became upset. During this period, seeing the military wives who passed the assessment go to work every day, those who failed the exam were extremely envious. Who doesn't want a job? No matter whether it is a pharmaceutical factory or a chicken farm, as long as there is a salary, it's enough. What's more, chicken farms are not necessarily worse than pharmaceutical factories. If you work here, you might even get some eggs every now and then on weekdays. After all, people who work in meat factories eat more meat than ordinary people. The news spread. Everyone rushed to Lin Wanshu and Ji Hualan's house. At that time, Lin Wanshu had just finished discussing the opening of a chicken farm with Kong Bufan, so she was not surprised to hear so many military wives coming to visit her. So I invited them all in. Wanshu, is it true that our family compound is going to open a chicken farm? Lao Shitsue asked impatiently. Lin Wanshu nodded. It's true. Comrade Kong from the logistics department has just come here. Hearing that it was true, the military wives were all extremely excited. Wanshu, how are we going to recruit people this time? This is the issue that everyone is most concerned about. They failed the assessment last time, and after returning home they all beat their chests and stamped their feet, wishing they could beat themselves to death for being lazy. I heard that the pharmaceutical factory will continue to expand, and they are afraid that they will not be selected next time. After returning, many people study very hard in private. Of course, some people really have no talent and cannot learn it, so they can only rely on the chicken farm. We're going to use a lottery this time. Anyone who wants to enter the chicken farm should go to Hualan to register. We'll organize a lottery in a few days. Hearing this, everyone couldn't help but cheer. Although only 10 people were recruited, 1/3 of the military wives in the family compound had already gone to the pharmaceutical factory. Among the remaining 2/3, some are determined to go to pharmaceutical factories. It is estimated that less than half of the military wives will participate in the lottery. The chances of winning are very high. In other words, they all have a high probability of getting a job, at the thought that they could become workers one day. And all this is thanks to Lin Wanshu. If she hadn't brought so many good things, how would they have had the opportunity to become workers? A while, the military wives started sending gifts to Lin Wanshu's home, as if they were free. The most common items given away are children's clothes, shoes, hats, and diapers. Until Lin Wanshu's due date, the baby in her belly is actually full term, which means that the little one may give birth at any time within this month. Although she had already given birth to Xiao Miao Miao, Lin Wanshu was still a little nervous. As she was. Although she was 1 month younger than her gestational age, she was carrying twins, so there was a high possibility that she would go into labor early. The two of them often get together to chat. Because she was about to give birth and the factory was already back on track, Lin Wanshu rarely went to the factory these days. Fang Qiuyan is now able to manage the operation of the entire factory single-handedly. With Ji Hualan visiting from time to time, she doesn't need to worry too much. Only step in to deal with things they couldn't decide. In the late stages of pregnancy, having a big belly not only makes it inconvenient to do anything, but even sleeping is extremely uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to turn this way or that way, and sometimes my legs cramp. Qin Yan was already nervous, and seeing her in so much pain, he felt even more distressed. Every time Lin Wanshu's legs cramped, he would always wake up immediately and give her a massage. The closer it got to the due date, the more Lin Wanshu could feel him tense up. I woke up in the middle of the night, and the other side of the bed was empty. Lin Wanshu thought he was going to the bathroom and didn't think much about it. The little guy in my belly has been very fussing recently. Sometimes I would be sleeping soundly in the middle of the night, but would suddenly be woken up by him kicking me. Being woken up by the baby's kick again that night, Lin Wanshu patted her belly to comfort the little guy. Then I went to see Xiao Miao Miao. But I saw that she had rolled from one side of her crib to the other, with her 2 little hands spread out and 1 foot hanging on the fence. Her sleeping posture was very heroic. Lin Wanshu gently took her little feet down, then found a towel blanket and covered her belly. After doing all this, just as I was about to get out of bed to go to the bathroom, Qin Yan came back. Is your leg cramping again? As soon as he entered the room, he walked quickly towards her and asked in a nervous voice. Lin Wanshu was about to say it was okay. She smelled a faint scent of tobacco on him. You smoked? She asked in surprise. He doesn't usually smoke this stuff. Hearing this, Qin Yan's body stiffened visibly, and then he said, softly. After saying that, he half squatted down, picked up her legs skillfully, and massaged her gently and carefully. If he was not pressing on the leg, but on some precious treasure. Lin Wanshu felt very complicated. Although he didn't say it, how could she not feel his panic? Just like every time she thought about what would have happened if she hadn't come to the army to find him in time last year, she felt an indescribable fear in her heart. After the man finished massaging, Lin Wanshu couldn't help but put her arms around his waist and gently leaned her face against him. The closer we got, the stronger the smell of tobacco became. It doesn't seem like it was the first time I smoked it. After sighing in her heart, she comforted him in a relaxed tone. Ayn, it's just giving birth to a baby. It's not like you haven't given birth before. Don't worry. But it would have been better if she didn't say this. The more she said this, the more Qin Yan couldn't stand it. The first time he saw Xiao Miao Miao, he was filled with joy and had no idea how hard it was for her to be pregnant. Until he accompanied the whole pregnancy that he realized how difficult it is to have a baby. And this is not the time for production yet. The closer he got to delivery, the more afraid he became. Childbirth is risky, especially in this era of backward medical care. In the past, there were women in the team who died from childbirth complications. Whenever he thought of this, Qin Yan couldn't fall asleep. But he didn't say this out loud, for fear that she would worry. He just responded to her comfort with a Then he asked, "Do you want to go to the bathroom? I'll take you there." Because she always got up at night, not only were the lights on in the house, but also in the yard. However, the lights in the yard are wind-powered lights made by Huanju, so no electricity is wasted. Sun Shifeng doesn't feel bad, even if they are kept on all night.
Yes.
Lin Wanshu didn't bother to be polite with him and asked him to help her out. Outside the yard, the sounds of frogs and crickets could be heard. The stars above our heads fill the entire sky. The Milky Way hangs high in the sky, and occasionally you can see a meteor with a long tail streaking across the horizon. Feeling the night breeze and looking at the starry sky, Lin Wanshu's heart felt more peaceful than ever before. Being pregnant is indeed not an easy thing, but because he is considerate, she feels that all the pain is worth it. At the same time, Su Menjing, who slept in the same room with Ding Suya, was feeling very upset. It was already 1 o'clock, but she still didn't feel sleepy at all. It turned out that Ding Suya had already told her that she would go back in 2 or 3 days and asked her to go back with her. But how could Su Menjing be willing to go back with her? Don't think she doesn't know that she will definitely be arranged to go on blind dates and get married when she returns. After all, she is already 25 years old. It was impossible for Ding Suya and her husband to let her stay single forever. But Su Menjing is now determined to marry Qin Yan. Apart from him, she feels that no one is worthy of her. It's all the fault of that idiot surnamed Chern. After so long, he still hasn't been able to take down Fang Qiuyan. It seems we have to think of another way. The next day, Yang Zheng came to see Fang Qiuyan as soon as she got to work. "Qiuyan, that Chen guy hasn't come to see you these past 2 days, right?" It turned out that she had mentioned to Fang Qiuyan 2 days ago, asking her to stay away from Chen Fengliang for fear of gossip. Fang Qiuyan also understood why the military wives had been looking at her strangely these days. "I ran into him outside the factory yesterday. He wanted to talk to me, but I ignored him." She was also very annoyed with the inexplicable Chen Fengliang. Fortunately, the job of collecting medicinal herbs is no longer her responsibility. Yesterday, as soon as he saw her, he came over. If he hadn't stopped 2 steps away from her, Fang Qiuyan would have wanted to call him a hooligan. She didn't know what he wanted to do. You could say he was harassing her, but he spoke in a serious manner, and all the questions he asked were about medicinal herbs. Even when talking to her, I would keep a safe distance. But if he didn't harass her, he would bring her some food every day. She had clearly stated that she didn't want it, but he still gave it to her, saying it was to thank her. Hearing this, Yang Zheng finally felt relieved and reminded, "If you see him, stay away from him. I don't think he has good intentions." Has been at the forefront of gossip for many years, she has a very sharp intuition in certain aspects. Fang Qiuyan nodded gratefully. "Okay, I understand." In a forest, Su Menjing crossed her arms over her chest and glared at Chen Fengliang with disgust. "Didn't you say that she would be ruined in less than a week? What's going on now? Can you explain it to me?" Chen Fengliang is about 1.8 meters tall and looks like a grandson when standing in front of Su Menjing. He lowered his head and let her scold him with contempt.
Msari, kamretsu.
I didn't expect her to be so vigilant, Chen Fengliang said with a guilty look on his face. But Su Menjing didn't want to listen to his useless nonsense. I don't care what method you use. After today, I must hear everyone spit on her and despise her. Hearing this, Chen Fengliang did not dare to refute and nodded repeatedly. I will find a way. Don't be angry. Hearing this, Su Menjing finally felt somewhat satisfied. Just hooked her finger at him. Chen Fengliang's eyes lit up and his ears turned red instantly. He walked towards her hand and foot, looking straight at her with his dark eyes. Su Menjing enjoyed her fascination with him. Wearing a cheongsam, she showed off her curves intentionally or unintentionally. Chen Fengliang's face turned even redder, but he didn't dare to look around. His eyes were wandering. Su Menjing chuckled and walked towards him, twisting her waist. She raised her finger to him and hooked it. Bow your head. Each action and each instruction, Chen Fengliang bent down and lowered his head obediently. Su Menjing stretched out her hand, gently hooked it around his neck, and then gave him a light kiss on the lips. Chen Fengliang's eyes suddenly widened, and his whole body seemed to be under a spell, unable to move. My heart was beating wildly. As long as you can help me finish this matter afterwards. What happened afterwards? But Chen Fengliang couldn't wait and nodded his head. Don't worry, I will definitely give you a satisfactory result today. To see that she could control him so easily. She has begun to look forward to the day when Qin Yan will also be fascinated by her. After getting the answer she wanted, Su Menjing didn't stay any longer and left with a twist of her waist. Chen Fengliang looked at her buttocks wrapped in the cheongsam, twisting and turning, his eyes wide open, and he didn't even notice when 2 lines of deep red blood flowed from her nose. As soon as she got off work in the afternoon, Fang Qiuyan left the factory. Normally, she wouldn't come out so early, but Lu Jingsong always came to block her at the factory gate these days. Fang Qiuyan didn't want to be watched, so she left the factory early. As soon as she walked out of the gate, Fang Qiuyan subconsciously looked to the right side of the factory gate. But unexpectedly, Lu Jingsong was not here today. Originally thought she should be relieved, but she felt a hint of loss in her heart. In the end, she didn't dare to think too much and walked towards the staff quarters. These days, Lu Jingsong didn't mention asking her to move back home, but instead asked her to go back for dinner. But when Fang Qiuyan thought of what happened that afternoon, she became panicked and scared. How could she be willing to go back to his family compound with him to have dinner? She originally wanted to tell him what happened that night, but because of this, she hesitated. I haven't even told him yet, but he's already so shameless. Fang Qiuyan suspected that if she told him, he would move her things back to the family compound that very day. But she still wasn't ready. Or rather, she still cares about it. Mind that he once had only 7 days of vacation just to go back and see Fang Dongxue. You have to know that it takes 3 days to get to Eastern Province by train from here. Excluding the journey, you only have 1 day left to stay at home. How much do you love each other that you can't wait to see each other? Sighed heavily in her heart. Suppressing the messy thoughts in her mind, she walked quickly towards the family compound. But I had not walked far when suddenly, a familiar voice came from behind me. Sister Fang, wait a minute. Heard that it was Chen Fengliang again. She was speechless. Not only did she not stop, she even quickened her pace. But her legs were not as long as the others, and soon Chen Fengliang caught up with her. Fang Qiuyan stopped and looked at him coldly. Chen Fengliang, what do you want to talk to me about? She asked directly, without beating around the bush. What surprised Fang Qiuyan was that Chen Fengliang, who was always sunny and cheerful, looked disheveled and a little anxious today. Sister, didn't it rain a few days ago? There's something wrong with the medicinal materials in our team. The team leader asked me to come over and ask you to take a look. Hearing this, Fang Qiuyan was stunned. It turns out that he wasn't coming for her, but to ask her for medicinal herbs? As if afraid that she wouldn't believe it, Chen Fengliang took out a handful of medicinal herbs from his pocket and handed them to her. Look, what's growing on these herbs?
Can they be saved?
Fang Qiuyan entered the factory. She studied with Lin Wanshu for a long time. She is fully aware of any problems that may arise during the pharmaceutical factory's processing. This condition occurred because the medicinal material obviously absorbed too much water and was not dried in time. The raw materials are related to the quality of the finished product, so Fang Qiuyan did not dare to take it lightly. She said to him with a serious face, "Take me to have a look." Seeing that she agreed, Chen Fenliang's eyes flashed slightly. Hiding the joy in his eyes, he said with gratitude, "Thank you so much, Sister Fang."
Come with me.
As he said this, he made a gesture to her to invite him in. Fang Qiuyan nodded, and without delay, she walked ahead. But after a while, Chen Fenliang also followed. In his hand, his face showed an indescribable urgency. "Sister, do you think this herb can still be used?" Fang Qiuyan felt that he was getting a little too close, so she subconsciously moved to the side and said, "We need to take a look to know." Seeing that she didn't answer, Chen Fenliang was not discouraged. He took the medicine and continued to ask. He really looked extremely anxious, and he put the medicine directly in front of Fang Qiuyan. Fang Qiuyan felt an inexplicable irritation in her heart and turned to the side again. Just as she was pulling away, Chen Fenliang came closer again. Holding the medicine in his hand, he kept asking questions. But his distance was not so close that people would think he was being a hooligan, not to mention that he was asking why the medicinal materials had become like this. Fang Qiuyan felt uncomfortable. She still answered the questions seriously. However, because she was keeping her distance, the two of them soon reached the bushes on the side of the road, without knowing when. Fang Qiuyan looked very unhappy and was about to yell at him not to get so close to her when suddenly, Chen Fenliang seemed to step on something accidentally, staggered, and fell towards himself. Fang Qiuyan saw, out of the corner of her eye, a group of military wives walking out from the corner. Suddenly, a bad premonition came to her mind, and she subconsciously wanted to dodge to the side. She had just moved her feet when suddenly, her arm felt tight, and the next second, she was pulled aside by a strong force. Fang Qiuyan had just been pulled away, and the next second, she heard a bang and the sound of something hitting the ground heavily. Looking closely, Chen Fenliang actually fell flat on his face. "TSK. Comrade, why don't you look at the road when you walk?" Suddenly, Lu Jingsong's ambiguous voice came from the side, and Fang Qiuyan realized who had helped her just now. Chen Fenliang fell so hard that he saw stars and his mouth and face felt hot, as if they had been scratched by the mud and sand on the ground. At this moment, he was still lying on the ground in a dog-chewing mud posture, dazed and unable to recover. Hearing this, he looked up subconsciously and met a pair of icy cold eyes. "Just now, he was the one who tripped me?" Lu Jingsong had a cold smile on his lips, but he stretched out his hand towards him with concern on his face. "Comrade, the ground is dirty. Let me help you." Having said that, without waiting for him to refuse, Lu Jingsong grabbed his wrist and pulled him up. Chen Fenliang felt a sharp pain in his wrist and almost screamed out. But at the last moment, he still managed to hold it back. "Thank you, soldier comrade. I was not paying attention when I was walking just now." Even though his wrist was in great pain, Chen Fenliang still had to force a smile and thank the other party. Lu Jingsong snorted coldly. Not looking at the road when walking is a bad habit and needs to be changed. How could Chen Fenliang dare to refute? He nodded repeatedly, hoping that he would let go of his hand quickly. At this moment, many military wives came up and asked what had happened just now. As soon as they turned the corner, they saw Fang Qiuyan standing very close to a man. "I was just about to eat some melon, but who would have thought that something like this would happen?" Fang Qiuyan couldn't recover for a long time after what happened just now. Hearing what the military wives said at this moment, she seemed to finally realize something. Looking at Chen Fenliang, who was restrained by Lu Jingsong, and thinking of the rumors in the factory a few days ago, her face suddenly turned bad. "Just now this comrade came to me and said that there was a problem with the medicinal materials in their brigade and asked me to go over and take a look. I didn't expect that he would fall down while walking on flat ground and almost hit me." Hearing this, the military wives all looked at them strangely. "Young man, how do you walk?" How can you fall like this on a road like this? Xin Quan asked in disbelief. Chen Filiang's face turned red and white, which was very ugly. Originally, he just wanted to create an opportunity to fall into the bushes nearby with Fang Qiuyan, so that the military wives behind them would mistakenly think that Fang Qiuyan was doing something with a man. But who would have thought that Cheng Yaojin would appear halfway? Not only did this man pull Fang Qiuyan away, he also tripped him, causing him to fall flat on his face. But these people were obviously in the same group, and there was no way they could testify for him. He was bound to suffer this loss in silence. Chen Fengliang no longer cared about whether he could destroy Fang Qiuyan's reputation. He just hoped that Lu Jingsong would let go quickly, so that he could go back. Just as he was thinking this, he saw Fang Qiuyan picking up the herbs that had just fallen on the ground and looking at him coldly. Comrade Chen Fengliang, is it true what you just said about your team's medicinal materials having problems? Upon hearing this, Chen Fengliang's face suddenly froze. Not daring to meet Qiuyan's gaze, he stammered, "Yes. Some of the herbs have problems." "Really?" Fang Qiuyan smiled sarcastically. "Why did I remember you just saying that there was something wrong with the medicinal materials in the warehouse?" As soon as these words fell, cold sweat broke out on Chen Fengliang's forehead. Seeing him like this, how could Fang Qiuyan not know clearly? This man was deliberately approaching her under the guise of having problems with the medicinal materials. Thinking of this, her voice became even colder. "You deliberately approached me and lied to me that there was something wrong with the herbs. What was your purpose?" After hearing this, the military wives who were originally just watching the incident suddenly became alert. Could it be that he is an enemy spy who deliberately wants to sabotage our factory? After all, Fang Qiuyan is now in charge of all the affairs inside and outside the factory. If the enemy spies wanted to do something bad, Fang Qiuyan would indeed be a breakthrough point. When you put it that way, I'm a little skeptical. In addition to frequently sending food to Fang Qiuyan, this guy also chats well with many military wives. If he wasn't an enemy spy, why would he go to such great lengths and chat with so many military wives? Who knows what information he is trying to find out? The more they talked, the more it seemed to be true. The military wives' eyes suddenly widened in anger, and they looked as if they were going to send him to the Security Bureau for interrogation. When Chen Fengliang heard this, he was immediately frightened. If he was really regarded as an enemy spy, he might be shot. Thinking of this, he gritted his teeth, made up his mind, and said to Fang Qiuyan, "Don't you know why I approach you?" Fang Qiuyan found him inexplicable. "You and I only see each other every day when we collect medicine. We never meet at other times. You went to so much trouble to trick me into going to the downhill team, and you said you had no hidden purpose?" But after the initial panic, Chen Fengliang has calmed down. Looking straight at Fang Qiuyan, he said with some resentment, "What purpose can I have? You smile at me so beautifully every day. How can I not have some thoughts in my mind?" Hearing this, Lu Jingsong's face suddenly turned black. Was holding Chen Fengliang's wrist unconsciously used a little more force? Chen Fengliang's face twisted in pain, but he still gritted his teeth and refused to say a word. Lu Jingsong smiled coldly. "I heard that enemy agents are the most cunning. Today I saw that it was indeed true. My wife has to collect medicinal herbs every day. It is polite to smile at the villagers. Why does it taste so different in your mouth? It is hard for me not to suspect that you are deliberately throwing dirty water with ulterior motives." Seeing that he insisted on accusing him of being an enemy spy, Chen Fengliang suddenly panicked. But when he thought of Su Menjing, he clenched his teeth again. Can't betray her. He insisted that he was bewitched by Fang Qiuyan, and at best he was destroying a military marriage.
I'm not an enemy spy.
I really like Sister Fang. She's so pretty and smiles at me every day. She's in my dreams every night. As he spoke, he looked at Fang Qiuyan infatuatedly. It seems like he is really fascinated by her. Lu Jingsong's face turned so dark that it was unbearable to look at his wife being pursued by another man in front of him. It doesn't matter if you don't admit it, but your behavior is indeed very suspicious. As a soldier, I have the obligation to maintain national security. Please come with me to the Security Bureau and cooperate with the comrades in the Security Bureau to conduct an investigation. Having said that, he didn't even give him a chance to look at Fang Qiuyan anymore and took her away directly. People of this age are very vigilant. Although Chen Fengliang just acted like he was completely fascinated by Fang Qiuyan. But this cannot explain why he used the matter of the brigade's medicinal materials to deceive Fang Qiuyan. If he had no ulterior motive, why would he do this? We cannot wrongly accuse a good person, but we cannot let a bad person go either. Wouldn't it be clear if we hand him over to the comrades in the Security Bureau for investigation as to whether he is an enemy spy? Because of Chen Fengliang's suspicious behavior, the original discussion about Fang Qiuyan and Chen Fengliang quickly turned into whether he was an enemy spy. Su Menjing was still in the family compound, anxiously waiting for Fang Qiuyan to be ruined. She never thought that after spending an entire afternoon in the family compound, not only did she not receive any rumors about Fang Qiuyan, but she also received news that Chen Fengliang had been taken to the Security Bureau. When Su Menjing heard that Chen Fengliang was arrested, she felt like the sky was falling. I really can't trust that idiot. If he is caught, will he give himself away? When she thought of this, she felt like an ant on hot pot, unable to rest. Because of this incident, Su Menjing was in a state of confusion. When she returned home, she was still dazed, like a wandering soul. Ding Xia happened to have cooked a pot of soup and brought it out. When she saw her, she smiled and greeted her. Menjing, come quickly. Mom made you your favorite pig's trotter soup. But Su Menjing couldn't hear anything at all, let alone respond. She walked straight across the yard without even looking at Ding Xia and went straight back to her room. Had been cooking the soup for 2 hours and was waiting for her daughter to come back and drink it. How could she have expected that she would not even look at her? Suddenly, I felt a sense of loss. This child is really getting more and more out of tune. Unable to help herself, she complained to Su Mingqi. Why can children with the same parents have such different personalities? Su Mingqi was afraid that her mother would be sad, so she could only comfort her and comfort her. Maybe she's worried about something. I saw that she looked a little off just now. After saying that, Su Mingqi couldn't help but frown again. She'd be doing something weird again? But then she thought again, Su Menjing would be leaving here in 2 or 3 days, so she should just endure it for this short period of time. Hearing this, Ding Xia couldn't help but become worried. I'll go see what's going on. As she said this, she took off her apron and walked back to her room. In the room, Su Menjing and Qiqi were scolding each other again. Who are you looking for? Why is he not reliable at all? He has been arrested now. What if he betrays me? Su Menjing was almost angry to death. How could he be so useless? He was just asked to destroy Fang Qiuyan's reputation, so how could he be arrested as an enemy spy? You also said if you hadn't made mistakes one after another, how could it have turned out like this? Qiqi has never seen such a stupid host. She was asked to hook up with Qin Yan, but not only did she hook up with the wrong person, she also got caught red-handed while framing him. She no longer has any hope for Su Menjing. I just want to absorb more luck and replenish my energy so that I can find my next host. Su Menjing didn't know what she was doing and kept cursing. You better think of a solution for me. If Chen Fengliang betrays me, I'll be finished. If it really comes to that, not to mention whether Qin Yan would still be attracted to her, her reputation in the entire Yun province military region would probably be ruined. Qiqi didn't want to help Su Menjing anymore, but she hadn't found her next host yet. Even though she was reluctant, she still agreed.
Got it.
I'll think of a way. Hearing this, Su Menjing finally breathed a sigh of relief. Although she didn't know how she would do it, she knew she could do it.
As long as she agrees, it's fine.
Just then, Ding Xia opened the door and came in. Seeing her daughter sitting on the bed with a gloomy face, she asked with concern, Menjing, have you run into any trouble? Why don't you talk to your mother? Maybe I can give you some advice. Su Menjing was already feeling upset, so how could she have the mood to deal with her? Could she tell her that she wanted to steal other people's men, but failed repeatedly? If that were the case, given her and Su Weilin's pedantic personalities, they might break off relations with her. Thinking of this, Su Menjing suppressed her annoyance and said with a pitiful expression on her face, "Mom, I really don't want to go back so soon. Just let me play here for a while longer." Ding Xia still doesn't know what good things she has done. After all, this was her own child whom she had raised since childhood. How could she really have the heart to be so cruel when she heard her pleading? She sighed and said, "Then stay a few more days." Although she only agreed to a few days, Su Menjing's mood improved visibly. There was already a lot she could do in a few days. When her luck improves, won't it be easy for her to stay for a while longer? As for Chen Fengliang, she had already forgotten about him. With Qiqi around, she wasn't afraid that he would betray her. After getting the consent, Su Menjing affectionately took Ding Xia's arm and acted coquettishly. "I know that my mother loves me the most." After hearing this, Ding Xia was very pleased. "It's good for you to know that your father and I have taken special care of you since you were a child. We don't ask you to be very capable in the future, as long as you find someone to live a stable life with." Hearing this, Su Menjing curled her lips in disapproval. Just wait and see. When she is with Qin Yan and becomes Mrs. Shangguan, they will all look up to her. Ding Xia had no idea what her daughter was thinking, and she was still trying to reason with her. Finally, Su Menjing was too impatient to listen, so she interrupted her and said, "Mom, didn't you say you cooked soup? Where is it? Let's go eat it quickly."
I'm starving.
She was not in the mood just now, but now that she had dealt with Chen Fengliang's matter, she felt hungry again. Suya couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Forget it. After we get back, let her meet the child from Lao Guo's family. Maybe she will become more stable after getting married. The next day was the day for the military wives to draw lots. In the family compound are still unemployed. After registering with Ji Hualan a few days ago, they went to the square in groups of 3 or 4 early in the morning. Ding Xia has been here for several days, but has not had a good look around the family compound yet. Thinking that she would be going back in a few days, she planned to walk around here and get a glimpse of her life here. When Su Mingqi heard that her mother was going out for a walk, she immediately became nervous. She didn't tell her about Su Menjing. Now there are still many people in the family compound talking about Su Menjing every day, and she is too embarrassed to go out and interact with them. "Mom, why don't I go with you to collect some local specialties? You'll be going back soon, so it's a good opportunity to bring some mushrooms back to Dad." Su Weilin has a special liking for the mushrooms here, and Su Mingqi sends them back to him every month. But because of the high shipping costs, she couldn't send too much. Now that Ding Xia and Su Menjing are going back together, she might as well collect more. "That's not urgent. My sister said she wants to play with it for a few more days. It won't be too late for us to collect it tomorrow." Looking at the groups of military wives walking towards the square, Ding Xia was extremely curious and asked Su Mingqi, "Where are they going?" When Su Mingqi heard that Su Menjing had encouraged Ding Xia to agree to go back in a few days, he almost fainted. In a few days, will she be able to keep secret what she did? Thinking of this, her face was full of embarrassment, as if she wanted to tell Ding Xia but didn't know how to start. Hesitating, Ding Xia had already followed the crowd. Seeing that she really joined in the fun, Su Mingqi became anxious and hurriedly chased after her. "Hey, Mom, wait a minute." But before she could catch up, she was stopped by someone. "Mingqi, there's a phone number for you in the communications room." After hearing the phone call, how could Su Mingqi have time to pursue Ding Xia? After all, phone bills are very expensive these days. If it's not urgent, how can most people be willing to make a phone call? In the end, Su Mingqi had no choice but to follow the person who came. I just hope the military wives are so busy drawing lots that they don't notice their mothers. At the same time, she couldn't help but feel a little regretful. If she had known earlier, she shouldn't have been afraid that she would feel bad and kept it a secret for so long. Now that it can't be concealed anymore, she doesn't even dare to think about how her mother would feel if she knew. Ding Xia followed the military wife and soon arrived at the square. There were already quite a few people standing in the square. Everyone looked a little excited, and each of them looked at the rostrum eagerly. There is a big box on the podium, which should be the box for drawing lots later. There were about 40 or 50 people who signed up. This means there is about a 1 in 5 chance of winning the prize. How could they not be excited? Ding Suya was also watching curiously in the crowd. Suddenly, a somewhat weird voice came from the side. Hey, isn't this Su Menjing's mother? Why are you here? Ding Suya is a professor, respected wherever she goes. Where has she heard such sarcastic words? She was suddenly a little surprised. However, her good upbringing prevents her from quarreling with others. Therefore, although she didn't know why the visitor was so hostile to her, Ding Suya still said politely, I am Su Menjing's mother. My name is Ding Suya, Heko comrade. Ding Suya's temperament is truly outstanding, and her speech and behavior are so polite that there is nothing wrong with her. About to say something sarcastic, suddenly choked. Finally, she rolled her eyes, turned away, and muttered something. What's good about this? My husband was almost charming and almost framed.
How can I be good about this?
Guan Hongmei had always wanted to find an opportunity to take revenge on Su Menjing, but she just couldn't find the right opportunity, and she almost got internal injuries from holding her breath. After finally meeting Su Menjing's mother, she was about to go up and humiliate her. Who would have thought that he would be so polite? It made me look so vulgar. Finally, she had to give up the idea of mocking her. Guan Hongmei's voice was not loud, and Ding Suya could not hear clearly what she was saying. The only words I could hear clearly were, Su Menjing. Could it be that Menjing had a grudge against this person here? Thinking of this, she felt powerless. How did she come to see her sister and offend the people around her sister? Wouldn't this cause trouble for her sister? Soon, Ding Suya discovered in despair that her little girl seemed to have offended more than 1 or 2 people. She just stood outside the crowd, and many people looked at her strangely. While watching, he was saying something. Some were more direct and simply approached her, saying tactfully, Annie, if I were you, I would take comrade Su Menjing home as soon as possible. After all, this is a family compound, and it's not good for an unmarried girl like her to live here all the time. Hearing this, Ding Suya's face suddenly turned red, and she felt embarrassed. Although she didn't say it explicitly, she was not stupid. How could she not understand the meaning of her words? Considering that Su Menjing insisted on staying here and refused to go home, it was hard for Ding Suya not to wonder if she had fallen in love with some married man. Thinking of this, how could Ding Suya stay any longer? Without bothering to watch the excitement, she quickly left the square, wanting to find Su Mingqi and ask her what Su Menjing had done. Ding Suya was in a hurry to find someone and didn't pay much attention to where she was walking. By the time she suddenly saw the figure coming out from the corner, it was too late. Bang! 2 people who didn't look at the road bumped into each other. Today is a day off. Fang Qiuyan holds a report in her hand and is preparing to report the factory situation to Lin Wanshu. Who would have thought that I would bump into someone without paying attention? Seeing the figure lying on the ground, she was startled and fell on her, but without caring about it. She quickly got up and walked forward to help the person. Are you okay? Did you fall anywhere? Ding Suya didn't expect that the person who bumped into her was the girl that day. Seeing her up close at this moment, her heart throbbed even more violently. In fact, if you look closely, she doesn't look that much like her mother. Her mother had thick eyebrows and looked more heroic, while the female comrade in front of her gave people a gentle and peaceful feeling. But for some reason, Ding Suya just couldn't take her eyes off. Fang Qiuyan thought she really fell somewhere and suddenly became anxious. And did you fall somewhere? I'm going to Wanshu's place. She's a doctor. Can I take you to see her? After hearing this, Ding Suya came back to her senses. I'm fine, thank you. She said it was okay, but she subconsciously grabbed Fang Qiuyan's arm with both hands. Fang Qiuyan noticed that she looked a little strange and was about to ask her again if she was feeling unwell when suddenly a sharp voice came from the side. Fang Qiuyan, let my mother go. Fang Qiuyan turned her head and looked. If the person coming was not Su Menjing, who else could it be? Su Menjing had just gotten up and had breakfast and was about to go out, but she didn't expect to run into Ding Suya and Fang Qiuyan holding hands. The thing she feared most happened, and her head was buzzing. Without having time to think, She shouted angrily, rushed forward quickly, and forcefully separated the two people. How could Fang Qiuyan have expected that she would suddenly attack? I was not prepared and was pushed back a few steps, almost falling down. Ding Xia saw it. She became anxious and angry. Su Menjing, what are you crazy about? You scolded me? Su Mingqi looked at Ding Xia in disbelief. She actually scolded me for Fang Qiuyan? Did she discover something? Ding Xia had already stepped forward to support Fang Qiuyan. Comrade, I'm sorry, are you okay? My Menjing has been spoiled. I'll criticize her when I get back later. Heard that she was still criticizing herself for Fang Qiuyan, she exploded.
Mom.
What do you mean? It's fine that you scolded me for a stranger, but now you want to criticize me? Ding Xia was already furious because of the military wife's hints, and now seeing her pushing people without any reason, she was so angry that her face turned black. Su Menjing, what are you talking about? Where are your manners? Where are your manners? Is this what I taught you every day? Su Menjing was originally afraid that Ding Xia would discover the truth after meeting Fang Qiuyan. A few days ago, she had thought of ways to get Ding Xia to go back quickly, but she was not moved at all, and even said she would take her home. She was already exhausted from the successive failures, and when she saw Ding Xia defending Fang Qiuyan, her panic reached its peak. Unable to hold back, she stepped forward again to separate the two, stood in front of Ding Xia, and glared at Fang Qiuyan. Fang Qiuyan, it's you, isn't it? You heard that my mother is a professor, so you deliberately came to get close to her, and even instigated her to criticize and scold me. How can you be so vicious? Hearing this, Ding Xia was so angry that she almost couldn't breathe. Su Menjing, shut up. Apologize to this comrade immediately. How could she talk nonsense like this? I have only met this female comrade twice, and we haven't even spoken a few words to each other. How come she said that she was instigating me to scold her? Fang Qiuyan didn't expect that she would run into a mad dog when she went out, and she was speechless. No need to apologize, Auntie. I have something else to do. I'll leave you now. As she said that, she nodded politely to Ding Xia and left. He never argued with Su Menjing from beginning to end. That elegant and decent posture made Su Menjing look like an unreasonable shrew. Ding Xia looked at her back as she left gracefully, with a hint of loss in her eyes. When Su Menjing saw this, she felt even more panicked. Grabbing Ding Xia's arm, she asked, "Why are you looking at her like that?" Ding Xia looked at her aggressive look with disappointment in her eyes. Menjing, how could you become so unreasonable? Although she was domineering in the past, she was not like now, acting like a mad woman and making trouble for no reason. Hearing this, Su Menjing was like a cat whose tail was stepped on, and her fur immediately stood up. You say that again. Have you disliked me for a long time? You dislike me for not being as sensible as Su Mingqi and not being as pretty as her. Don't think I don't know that you actually don't like me, and you like Su Mingqi more. Your kindness to me is all fake, right? Ding Xia, you are so hypocritical. Hearing this, Ding Xia's eyes suddenly went dark.
I'm pretending.
Su Menjing, do you have a conscience? When you were a kid, you had nightmares all night long. Who stayed with you until dawn? When other kids were picking up clothes from their older brothers and sisters, you made new ones every year. Even if there was not enough fabric, we would give it to you first. Your sister and your father don't eat spicy food, but we still had to consider your taste and put chili in every meal. Am I not good enough to you? Are you calling me hypocritical? There were many times when Mingqi's favorite things were snatched away by her, and she wanted to take them back, but she threw a tantrum, and finally Mingqi was sensible and gave them to her. The whole family gave in to her in everything, but in return they got blamed by her. The more she spoke, the sadder she became. Ding Xia said with red eyes, Su Menjing, you really disappoint me. Hearing this, Su Menjing stood there in disbelief. She disappointed in herself? How could she say that? Obviously, whenever I lost my temper in the past, she would always go along with me, but now she says she is disappointed in me. And you still say that it was not Fang Qiuyan's instigation? Haha. Are you impatient with me so quickly? I knew you were just pretending. Your hypocrisy really makes me sick. As expected, they are not biological children. If Fang Qiuyan was standing here, she wouldn't believe that Ding Xia would say such a thing. After saying this, Su Menjing left angrily. Ding Xia was the only one left standing there, staring at her back, shaking with anger. Just at this time, Su Mingqi also came back after making a phone call. After searching for a while, I finally saw Ding Xia in the corner. But I saw her covering her heart with her hands, trembling all over, with a look of pain on her face. Su Mingqi was startled and quickly went forward to support her. "Mom, what's wrong with you?" Ding Xia's face turned pale, and she was still gasping for air. When she saw Su Mingqi, she grabbed her arm. "It hurts. My chest hurts." After hearing this, Su Mingqi became extremely anxious. Without any delay, he bent down and half knelt in front of Ding Xia. "Mom, come up, I'll take you to see Wan Shu. Wan Shu is an excellent doctor and lives not far from here, so it would be most appropriate to find her." Ding Xia was indeed feeling very uncomfortable, but she didn't try to be brave and just lay on Su Mingqi's back. Su Mingqi carried his mother on his back and walked quickly towards Lin Wanshu's home. As soon as she reached the door, and before she went in, she shouted inside, "Wan Shu, help me, help me." Lin Wanshu was sitting in the pavilion listening to Fang Qiuyan's report on the pharmaceutical factory. Upon hearing this, she quickly stood up. Seeing Su Mingqi carrying her mother into the yard, she walked forward with her hands on her belly. "Hurry, carry her to the clinic first." Fang Qiuyan was frightened every time she saw her making such big movements. "Wan Shu, slow down." As she spoke, she reached out and held her arm, taking care of her like a fragile doll. Lin Wanshu was worried about the patient, so she didn't say anything and let her help her into the clinic. Because Lin Wanshu often treated patients, the family compound built a new house for her, which was used as a clinic. There are not only simple beds inside, but also a row of stools so that there is a place to sit when there are many people. At this time, Ding Xia had been placed on the bed in the clinic. Lin Wanshu asked about the patient's condition. She took her pulse. After a moment, she withdrew her hand and gave Ding Xia a massage. Then, he asked Fang Qiuyan to bring a towel and wet it with water. "Wan Shu, just tell me what to do." Fang Qiuyan quickly fetched some water and didn't let Lin Wanshu do anything. She just wet the towel and said. Hearing this, Lin Wanshu did not force it and just gave instructions from the side. "Unbutton her clothes and give her some heat." Thanks to the fact that she could now feel the meridians, Lin Wanshu immediately determined that Ding Xia had chest wall muscle strain. This is not a big problem. Pay attention to rest more, avoid strenuous exercise, and then massage and apply hot compress. This was not the first time Fang Qiuyan had assisted Lin Wanshu. Lin Wanshu said this. She closed the curtain and unbuttoned Ding Xia's clothes. Had just unbuttoned her clothes when her eyes suddenly fixed, and she looked at Ding Xia's shoulder with some surprise on her face. Ding Xia felt a lot better in her chest after being pressed by Lin Wanshu. He is now conscious again. Seeing Fang Qiuyan staring at her shoulder, she smiled and said, "This is a birthmark in the shape of a butterfly. It's amazing, isn't it?" Fang Qiuyan. "It's really amazing, because she has one too." Fang Qiuyan originally thought that her birthmark was very strange and rare. "I didn't expect to see the same one on Ding Xia's shoulder, and I suddenly had an indescribable strange feeling in my heart." But she didn't think much about it. She smiled and praised her, then gave her a hot compress. Ding Xia didn't expect to see this female comrade again so soon. At this moment, watching her applying hot compress to herself seriously, I felt indescribable excitement in my heart. Unable to hold back, she started chatting with Fang Qiuyan about family matters. The hot compress lasted for quite a while, and Fang Qiuyan felt that the dry compress was a bit awkward, so she started chatting with her. A brief conversation. Ding Xia not only found out where Fang Qiuyan's hometown was, but also knew her date of birth and family situation. Hearing that she was not only from the same city as herself, but also born on the same day of the same month of the same year as Su Menjing, Ding Xia felt that fate was truly wonderful, but on the other hand, she couldn't help but sigh in her heart.
Between people?
They are both 25 years old, but he is so calm, while Su Menjing is still so willful. Sometimes she couldn't help but doubt whether she knew how to teach her children. Otherwise, how could I raise such a daughter? Knowing that she were from the same hometown, Ding Suya felt more familiar with her. I even spoke to her in my hometown dialect. I have to say that some local dialects are completely different from Mandarin. Lin Wanshu didn't understand anything and had no idea what they were talking about. But she didn't care and just quietly prescribed medicine for Ding Suya. Su Mingqi stood outside listening to her mother and Fang Qiuyan chatting. The fingers of her hands were almost twisted into knots. Lin Wanshu just said that her mother's heart pain was caused by anger. Su Mingqi didn't dare to imagine what had happened that could make her usually good-tempered mother so angry. The two people outside were quiet, while the two inside were becoming more and more interested in the conversation. Ding Xia has even begun to cordially invite Fang Qiuyan to visit her home with her children and husband when she is free. My home is in Qingshi. If you are late for the bus back home, you can stay at my place. From here back to Qing City did not arrive until 1 o'clock in the morning. Most people would choose to sit in the train station for a night just to get by and then walk home at dawn. Fang Qiuyan naturally appreciated her kindness, but she wouldn't really disturb anyone in the middle of the night. What's more, she had no intention of going back there. After all, neither the Fang family nor the Liu family had any place worth her staying. After applying the mask for about 20 minutes, Fang Qiuyan came out with the basin. Su Mingqi hurried inside, his face full of anxiety and guilt. "Mom, how are you?" Her eyes were a little red. Obviously, she was frightened just now. If she had known this, she should have explained the situation to her mother in advance. "My mother has lived a decent life all her life, but now she is very angry because of this matter. If anything happened to her because of this, she didn't know how to explain it to her father."
"I've fine.
I feel much better now." Ding Suya understands the younger daughter and also the older daughter. Knowing that she has always been kind and considerate, I knew without thinking that she must have been afraid that I would feel bad, so she didn't tell me about Su Menjing. Although she was indeed very angry with Su Menjing just now, this had nothing to do with the eldest daughter, and she would not take her anger out on her. Let's go back first. Ding Suya now couldn't wait to know what Su Menjing had done to cause so many military wives to look at her like that. But this is a family scandal after all, and it's not good to talk about outside. She got off the hospital bed and planned to go back to find out more about the situation. Su Mingqi hurried forward to support her. "It's okay. Mom is not that fragile." Seeing her uneasy expression, Ding Suya patted her hand and comforted her. Su Mingqi felt even worse when she saw her mother trying to comfort her. Lin Wanshu had already prescribed the medicine, and Fang Qiuyan helped to get it. She has collected and processed every kind of medicine here, so she is naturally very familiar with them. Weighing the medicine is no problem for her. As soon as Ding Suya came out, her eyes subconsciously looked towards Fang Qiuyan. Seeing that she was skillfully dispensing medicine for herself, she couldn't help but flash a look of admiration across her face. A child who grew up in the countryside is so outstanding. Not only is she extremely capable, but she is also calm and composed when speaking to her, neither humble nor overbearing. I don't know how her parents raised her. Fang Qiuyan prepared the medicine. She took it to show Lin Wanshu. After she confirmed that it was correct, she wrapped it in oil paper and handed it to Ding Suya. "Thank you, Qiuyan." Ding Suya called her name directly and familiarly. "You are too polite. Go back and have more rest." Fang Qiuyan had a good impression of Ding Suya, and since they were all from the same hometown, she gave her some advice. Lin Wanshu told Su Mingqi how to use the medicine. The mother and daughter received the medicine. They thanked the two men again before saying goodbye and leaving. They walked back home in silence and entered the room. After Su Mingqi helped Ding Suya sit on the bed, he stood in front of her with his head lowered. Ding Suya sighed and paused before asking, "Tell me, what did Menjing do?" Not to mention the fact that Su Menjing inexplicably targeted Fang Qiuyan and called her hypocritical, Ding Suya directly told Su Mingqi what the military wife had hinted at her. Upon hearing this, Su Mingqi's face suddenly turned red, and he felt an embarrassment that was difficult to speak of. After taking a deep breath, she told Ding Xia after a moment that Su Menjing had thrown herself into a man's arms a few days ago, framed him for hooliganism, and was finally caught on the spot. Hearing this, Ding Xia's eyes went dark again. She thought that Su Menjing must have done something to anger the public, but she never expected that she would be so stupid, vicious, and shameless. This is a military unit, and these soldiers are my son-in-law's brothers who have been through thick and thin with him. How can my daughter and her husband deal with what she has done? Originally, I didn't want to trouble Mom to run so far, but she refused to go back, so I had no choice but to let you come. Su Mingqi thought that after her mother and sister returned, she would repair her relationship with the military wives. But she never thought that in such a short time, Su Menjing would do so many things again. She even almost made her mother faint from anger. Seeing her mother's angry face at this moment, she felt very distressed. Hearing the whole story, Ding Xia squeezed out a sentence from between her teeth. Yes, I will take her back tomorrow. She was afraid that if she stayed one more day, she would really get angry to death. Su Menjing went out and came back almost when it was dark. After she had an argument with Ding Xia and ran away in the morning, she felt a little regretful. However, what she regretted was not that these words would hurt Ding Xia's heart, but that she was afraid of angering her and making her stop giving her money to spend. But she had more important things to do, so she didn't go back immediately. Now that she is back home, the first thing she does is to look for Ding Xia. Sister, where's Mom? As soon as she entered the door, she asked Su Mingqi as if nothing had happened. Su Mingqi was extremely disappointed in her. If it weren't for their years of sisterhood, she wouldn't want to say a word to her. Mom is in the room. After saying that, she turned around and went about her own business. Su Menjing felt very unhappy when she saw that she was indifferent to her. Just wait and see. Once she takes down Qin Yan, she'll trample her under her feet. Snort. Su Menjing snorted coldly and turned back to her room. The most urgent thing is to admit the mistake to Ding Xia and coax her into peace. It would be best if she could return to Eastern Province as soon as possible. After going over in her mind what she was going to say, she reached out and pushed the door open. In the room, Ding Xia had just taken medicine and was lying on the bed, looking tired and haggard. When Su Menjing saw this, her heart skipped a beat. Afraid of really making the other person angry, she tried hard to hold back her tears, then lowered her head and walked up to her. Mom. Su Menjing stood beside the bed with an attitude of admitting her mistake, calling out to someone in a low voice. However, Ding Xia, who was always good-tempered, didn't even look at her. Even lift his eyelids. Pack your things and we'll go back tomorrow. After hearing this, Su Menjing, who had originally wanted to pretend to be pitiful and admit her mistake, was suddenly struck by lightning. What? What did you say? The sharp sound almost blew the roof off, and her scream finally earned a look from Ding Xia. But that look was so calm and peaceful that it made people shudder with fear. I said, we will go back to Eastern Province tomorrow. Ding Xia said a few words coldly, which made Su Menjing explode again.
Why?
Didn't you promise to get back to me in a few days? Why are you breaking your promise? Hearing this, Ding Xia smiled coldly. What have you done? Don't you know what's going on? You have the nerve to stay here.
I don't have the face to do that.
Hearing this, Su Menjing, who was originally anxiously jumping for air, suddenly choked, and a trace of guilt flashed across her face.
Mom, what are you talking about? I don't understand.
I didn't expect that she would dare to act stupid. Ding Xia was almost amused by her. Are you sure you want me to tell you what you did? Su Menjing saw that she couldn't play dumb any longer, so she just gritted her teeth and refused to admit it. Mom, don't listen to their nonsense. I was wrongly accused. Seeing that she still refused to admit her mistake, Ding Xia felt disappointed again. Menjing, Mom is not stupid. I have my own judgment on whether it is true or not. I am not going to discuss it with you when I go back, but to inform you. Hearing that she was really determined to take her back tomorrow, Su Menjing could no longer pretend. I'm not going back. If you want to go back by yourself. Her plan hasn't been implemented yet. How can I go back with her? After she returns, she will definitely be forced to go on blind dates and get married. Seeing that she was adamant and insisted on staying here, Ding Suya became so angry that her heart ached. Su Menjing, you are already 25 years old, not a 15-year-old girl. Can you stop being so willful? Do you know how much trouble you have caused your sister and brother-in-law? Comrade Fang Qiuyan is the same age as you and is now a manager in a pharmaceutical factory. Mom doesn't ask you to be very capable, but at least don't cause trouble and live a quiet life, okay? When Su Menjing heard her actually praising Fang Qiuyan, the taut string in her head instantly broke. You praised Fang Qiuyan for her ability? Why did you praise her? Did you sneak off to see her again? Ding Suya, do you know who your daughter is? Ding Suya looked at her crazy face and felt a little confused. I just praised Fang Qiuyan. Why did she react so strongly? It was the same thing in the morning. She just bumped into Fang Qiuyan by chance, and she almost pushed her down. Others are excellent, so what's wrong with me praising them? Why are you so angry? Not sure if she was angry or something, Ding Suya asked back. When Su Menjing heard this, she became even more furious. Praise anyone except Fang Qiuyan. Why doesn't she praise so many people, but instead uses Fang Qiuyan to drag herself down? You're belittling me like this for a stranger. You've really disliked me in your heart for a long time. If you don't like me so much, why do you pretend to be nice to me? Hearing this, Ding Suya suddenly felt powerless. I was nice to you, but it turned out to be my fault? Su Menjing, can you be reasonable? Yes. I am unreasonable. You can choose whoever is reasonable to be your daughter. The worries and fears of the past few days were like the last straw that broke the camel's back. Su Menjing uttered something hysterically, then turned around and ran out. Su Mingqi was afraid that Su Menjing would not know the seriousness of the matter and make her mother angry again, so she waited at the door. When she saw Su Menjing running out, the first thing she did was not to chase her, but to rush into the room. Sure enough, I saw Ding Suya covering her chest with her hands and looking uncomfortable. Mom, how are you? Su Mingqi hurried forward and stroked her back. Ding Suya finally recovered and grabbed Su Mingqi's hand and said, Go and see where Menjing is gone. It was already dark, and no matter how angry or disappointed she was, Ding Suya couldn't really ignore her. Su Mingqi heard everything the two of them said clearly from outside. He was already full of resentment towards Su Menjing in his heart. Hearing this, she didn't plan to chase after him immediately, but went to get a basin of hot water and asked Ding Suya to apply it on herself first. Only then did he reluctantly go out to look for someone. Originally, Su Mingqi thought that Su Menjing would just wander around the family quarters at most. After all, she was not very brave, and it was impossible for her to go anywhere so late at night. But after walking around the family compound twice and failing to find anyone, she finally panicked. In the end, I had no choice but to ask the people in the family compound to help find it. When everyone heard that Su Menjing had disappeared, although they were not very willing to do so, they still helped to look for her for the sake of Nanjing and his wife. First, they searched the family compound again, but didn't find anyone, so they went outside with a flashlight to look for him. It was late at night when we finally found the person in a trap. At this moment, she almost fainted due to excessive blood loss. Quick, send him to the clinic for bandaging first. Although he was afraid that she would blackmail others again, human life was at stake. Li Yicheng, who was the first to find the person, did not care about anything else and rescued her from the trap. Guoyang came with him and was there to support him. The two men struggled to get the person out of the trap, only to find that there was a big hole in her foot which was still bleeding. They are soldiers and have experience in treating this type of wound. After simply tying up Su Menjing, Guoyang carried her on his back and walked quickly towards the military clinic. Hearing that someone was injured and lost too much blood and fainted, Zhang Qingfeng did not dare to be careless. She was immediately sent to the emergency room and prepared to give her a blood transfusion. Blood tests are done before a blood transfusion. Fortunately, the military clinic itself is a surgical clinic, and it has all the necessary testing equipment and plasma. The test results came out quickly, and Zhang Qingfeng did not delay and asked the nurse to give her a blood transfusion. But Su Menjing was found too late, and she had lost too much blood. Bag after bag of plasma was transfused, and soon the stock was running out. Director Zhang, there is not enough plasma. The nurse came in hurriedly to report. Zhang Qingfeng did not hesitate and said decisively, "Go and call some AB blood-type comrades to come over for support." Good. The nurse received the order and ran out quickly without delay. Just at this moment, Ding Suya and Su Mingqi, who received the news, also came over. Ding Suya was almost half supported and half carried over by Nanjing. Her face was pale, and her legs were so weak that she could hardly walk. As soon as she entered the hospital, Ding Suya grabbed a nurse and asked, "Nurse, how is my daughter Su Menjing?" The person she caught happened to be the nurse who was looking for someone to come and support the plasma. When she heard that she was Su Menjing's mother, her eyes suddenly lit up. "You came just in time. The patient has lost too much blood, and the clinic is running low on plasma. Go test her blood and draw some for her transfusion later." Domestic medicine was still very backward at that time, and there was no such thing as not being able to donate blood between relatives. Mutual blood transfusions were a very common phenomenon. Generally, blood transfusion is acceptable as long as the blood type is the same and there is no disease. Upon hearing that Su Menjing needed plasma, Ding Suya and Su Mingqi did not delay and went with a nurse to have a blood test. Even if they are biological mother and daughter, their blood types may not be the same. Therefore, after the nurse handed the two to another nurse to take them for testing, she hurried out to find other people for support. Ever since Ding Suya heard that Su Menjing was in trouble, her heart has been overwhelmed by self-blame. As she watched the nurse draw her blood for testing, she kept urging, "Nurse, can you be faster? My daughter is still waiting for blood." The nurse was also raised by her parents, so she could understand her feelings and comforted her. "We will do it as soon as possible, don't worry." Having said that, he took the blood sample and left. Su Mingqi's eyes were still a little red, and he kept saying, "I'm sorry. It's all my fault. If I had gone to find her earlier, nothing would have happened to her." But how could she have thought that Su Menjing could run so far and fall into a trap? If anything happened to Su Menjing because of this, Su Mingqi would never be able to forgive himself. Ding Suya didn't say anything. Her eyes were a little dazed. She regretted in her heart. If she had known she was so angry, she would have said less. Mother and daughter looked remorseful, but Nanjing, who was standing by, had no other thoughts except feeling sorry for his wife. He could not feel any sympathy for his sister-in-law. Even though she was already in the operating room, he felt nothing in his heart. His compassion will not be wasted on a selfish person. Time passed minute by minute, and as Ding Suya and Su Mingqi were anxiously waiting, the test results finally came out. "I'm sorry, family member. The patient has AB blood type, and both of you are type O. Your blood types don't match the patient's, so you can't give him a blood transfusion." Having said that, the nurse handed the test form to Ding Suya and left. Took the order, felt as if struck by lightning. She stood there in a daze, unable to move for a long time.
Mom, don't be sad.
The nurse just said she's going to find someone to give her a blood transfusion. Menjing will be fine. Su Mingqi saw that his mother didn't speak for a long time and thought that she was sad and couldn't help Su Menjing, so he comforted her. But just as she finished her words, she saw Ding Suya rushing towards the nurse like flying. "Nurse, are you mistaken? How can I be type O blood? My husband is type O blood. If I am also type O blood, how can I give birth to a child with type AB blood?" She is a professor, so of course she has this common sense. Before due to an injury, Ding Suya herself has never lost. "When I was pregnant with my two daughters, there was no prenatal checkup. When the fetuses reached full term, I went straight to the hospital to give birth as soon as they started moving. Therefore, she didn't know what her blood type was." When Ding Suya heard that she also had type O blood, she felt surprised and absurd. With the test report, the nurse was also surprised when she heard her words. As a nurse, She naturally knew that two people with type O blood could not give birth to a child with type AB blood. But she was also very sure that she had strictly followed the testing procedures, and the results could not be wrong. Family members of the patient, our testing is professional, and there is no way we could have made a mistake. Moreover, we tested 2 blood samples, and the results were the same, the nurse said with certainty. Upon hearing this, Ding Suya staggered and almost fell unable to stand. Su Mingqi had just been following behind Ding Suya and heard the entire conversation between her mother and the nurse. At this moment, her face was full of doubts about life.
Mom.
You said Dad also has type O blood? Asked Riley. She and her parents all have type O blood, and only Su Menjing has type AB blood. What does this mean? Did Menjing get the wrong baby? Nanjing said doubtfully. Although it was a question, anyone could hear the certainty in his words. No wonder Su Menjing looks nothing like her father-in-law and mother-in-law. Not only do they look alike, but their personalities are also completely unlike those of the Su family. If the baby was taken away by mistake, then everything can be explained. Ding Suya's mind was blank, and she was completely unable to think. There is only one thought going back and forth. Su Menjing was taken away by mistake? She is not her biological child? What about her children?
I
remember that when I gave birth to Menjing, there was another woman in the ward who was in labor. She only stayed there for half a day before she passed away. And she also gave birth to a girl that day. Babies are born, they are all wrinkled, and when they are put together, it is difficult to tell which is which. Was it then that the mistake was made? The more she thought about it, the more she felt that this was the case, and Ding Suya could no longer sit still. I'd like to ask the nurse to retest her blood type later. Then he wanted to go back to Eastern Province to find out what was going on. Su Mingqi watched her stand up and sit down again, and her eyes were almost dazzled. Mom, calm down and wait for Menjing to come out first. Although her head was buzzing with shock at Nanjing's words, she was worried that her mother might not be able to handle it, so she tried to persuade her. Nanjing was the most pragmatic. After learning that his sister-in-law might have been taken away by mistake, his first thought was to call his father-in-law. Mingqi, stay here with Mom first. I'm going to call and talk to my father-in-law. If it is confirmed that he really has type O blood, then Su Menjing is most likely the wrong baby. My father-in-law is now in the Eastern Province, so it is much easier for him to investigate this matter than for them. Okay, go ahead. Su Mingqi also wanted to know the truth, so he nodded and urged. Nanjing left, and soon many people came to the hospital. Most of them are young and strong soldiers. When they heard that they needed to donate blood, they came over without saying a word. Moreover, all the soldiers have had their blood types checked, and they know their own blood types. Everyone who came here was type AB. With the plasma and Lin Wanshu's quick hemostatic medicine, Su Menjing was quickly rescued. However, because her injuries were quite serious, she was still unconscious when she was taken out of the emergency room. Although Su Menjing was unconscious, Chi-Chi could still feel the outside world. After finding out that Su Menjing's background was about to be exposed, she was almost dying of anxiety. Not caring that she was still injured, he desperately shouted in her mind. Hopefully I can wake this idiot up soon. However, Su Menjing was probably injured too badly, and even though she screamed her throat out, there was no response at all. On the other hand, Fang Chuyan, who lived in the dormitory, had no idea that Su Menjing had run away in a huff last night and had fallen into a trap and almost died. When she heard the military wives talking about it the next day at work, but she didn't take it to heart. Still busy with my work step by step. These days, because of the pill issue, she has to go to the county every day. To facilitate their travel, the factory is also equipped with a bicycle. But most of the time it was she and Su Yuan who rode. Everyone else was working in the factory and had no use for the bicycle. Leading to the county town are all mountain roads with dense forests on both sides. During the day, but after the sun goes down in the afternoon, it looks particularly creepy. Therefore, Fang Chuyan usually goes early and comes back early and does not stay too long. But there were too many things to do today, and by the time she came back, it was already 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Although she was very anxious, Fang Qiuyan did not dare to pedal too fast. After all, mountain roads are either uphill or downhill, and there are many turns. If you pedal too fast and accidentally fall down the hill, it would be no joke. In this way, she pedaled her bike all the way until the sun was about to set when she was halfway through the journey. At this time, there was no pedestrian on the road, and it was quiet everywhere. Occasionally, a bird's cry could be heard from the woods on both sides, adding an indescribable sense of weirdness. Fang Qiuyan could only pedal her bicycle while memorizing the names and effects of the medicines to divert her attention. After pedaling for about 10 minutes, the sun finally set. The woods on both sides were already a little gray under the cover of dense leaves. Fang Qiuyan continued to pedal her bicycle hard. At this moment, suddenly, several figures jumped out from the woods on the side. Fang Qiuyan's heart skipped a beat, and an ominous premonition instantly came to her mind. Without thinking too much, she pushed hard on the bicycle, trying to ped up and rush forward. But this is an uphill road after all, so no matter how fast she goes, she can't go much faster. As soon as the car passed those people, someone dragged the back seat. With a hiss sound, the bicycle was pulled to a stop. It turned out to be directed at me. Fang Qiuyan felt cold all over and her heart sank to the bottom. What do you want to do? The car was stopped, and she had no choice but to get out. Trying to calm herself down, she shouted harshly. But her scolding not only failed to scare the men, but also caused them to laugh maliciously. TSK, 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 I thought it was a little lamb, but it turned out to be a little pepper? The leader was a tall and thin man who walked up to her in a frivolous manner and said with a smile. As soon as he finished speaking, the other men burst into obscene laughter. It's better to be spicy. How can it be tasty without being spicy? That's right, I haven't seen such a pretty girl in a long time, hiss. I can't stand it just by looking at her. Several people were talking to each other, looking her up and down with turbid eyes. Hearing these obscene words, Fang Qiuyan felt both scared and nauseous. Said coldly, I'm a military wife. If you know what's good for you, just get out of the way. I won't pursue the matter. On the contrary, if you dare to do anything to me, the army will not let you go. They heard that she was a soldier's wife. They were all stunned, and there was a hint of fear on their faces. Fang Qiuyan slowed down her voice and said, I know you were just impulsive. Everyone has their own thoughts. As long as you can stop in time, everything will be fine. I will just pretend that I have never met you. Otherwise, it is not worth it to risk your life for a moment of pleasure. It was not known whether her persuasion had any effect, but the men fell silent. But Fang Qiuyan did not dare to take it lightly. Holding her breath, she tentatively pushed her bicycle. The car felt a little resistance, but not much. Fang Qiuyan didn't dare to make any big movements. She gritted her teeth and pushed the bicycle forward step by step. After walking a few meters away and seeing that they still didn't make any other moves, Fang Qiuyan slowly breathed a sigh of relief. But just as she was about to get on her bike again, suddenly, the tall and thin man's voice came from behind her again. Wait! Hearing this, Fang Qiuyan's heart, which had just been relieved, became tense again. Suppressing the urge to run, she stopped and turned around. Comrade, is there anything else? The tall and thin man looked at her exposed white arms, and his eyes became cloudy again. You just left like that. How can I trust that you won't complain when you go back? Seeing his obscure and explicit gaze, Fang Qiuyan's hair almost stood on end. After taking a deep breath, she tried to speak in a calm voice. You didn't do anything to me. Why would I complain about this? It's not easy for everyone, and I'm not the kind of person who won't let you go. Since I left here, I haven't seen you, and you haven't seen me either. Looking at her eloquent appearance, the tall and thin man's eyes showed a little more lust. He swallowed his saliva and said with a look of enlightenment, You can let me go, but take off your underwear and give it to me. If you go back and complain, I will. His eyes roamed up and down her body, his greedy gaze obscene and vulgar. Hearing this, Fang Qiuyan's face turned red with anger. Don't go too far. Too much? The tall and thin man chuckled. You haven't tried anything more extreme than that. Once you've tasted that, I guarantee you'll come looking for me again. As he spoke, he walked towards her. The other men looked at each other, hesitated, and followed the tall and thin man. Fang Qiuyan knew that they were not going to let her go. Immediately, she gave up her fantasy, put on a frightened expression on her face, and calmly reached into her trouser pocket through the cover of her crossbody bag.
You
guys don't mess around. Fang Qiuyan's voice was shaking and she was crying. Obviously, she was very scared. Heard this sound became even more excited. He, little beauty, don't be afraid. Let your brother have fun for once, and I will let you go back. The tall and thin man was so excited that his saliva was almost flowing out. He looked at Fang Qiuyan as if he was looking at some prey. The other men were not much better. Several people approached her step by step. Fang Qiuyan still looked pitiful and shivering, and no one could tell that she was silently calculating the positions and distances of several people. When the men were 2 steps away from her, she suddenly took out the pepper spray that Lin Wanshu had given her for self-defense and quickly sprayed it in the direction of the men. The red spray instantly submerged the faces of several men. The next second, only several screams of "Ah!" were heard one after another, and several men covered their eyes and howled in pain. Fang Qiuyan scolded the person and immediately turned around and started pedaling her bicycle. But before she could get on the bike, the next second, someone kicked the bike hard from behind. Huge impact force caused her and the car to fall heavily to the ground. You witch! You dare to plot against us. You deserve to die. It turned out that the short and fat man was standing relatively far back, and he dodged the pepper spray the moment it was sprayed out. Now, seeing Fang Qiuyan trying to escape, he kicked her down with her car. Fang Qiuyan was hit by a bicycle and felt a piercing pain in her calf. But she didn't dare to stop. She left the car and wanted to run. However, the man was prepared. He grabbed her hair and dragged her directly into the woods nearby. A severe pain came, and Fang Qiuyan felt as if her scalp was being torn off. With her hair pulled like this, she had no way to resist and could only be dragged towards the woods by him. She was so panicked that she could no longer remain calm. Enduring the severe pain from her scalp, she shouted with all her might, "Help! There are hooligans!" Although this place is still some distance away from the village, Fang Qiuyan still couldn't help but hold on to a glimmer of hope, hoping that someone could hear her cry for help. Fang Qiuyan didn't dare to shout, "Kill," because she knew that no one would come to rescue her if she did. If you shout, "You're a hooligan," maybe some people who want to watch the fun will come over. At this moment, she no longer cared about whether her reputation would be damaged. She just wanted to survive. However, the time limit was too strict. She shouted until her throat was almost hoarse, but no one came over. Instead, the men who had just covered their eyes stumbled towards her. "You witch! You dare to spray me with pepper? I'll kick you to death." The tall and thin man could no longer see, and he followed the sound and kicked Fang Qiuyan. Fang Qiuyan's hair was pulled. How could she move? She was hit hard by the kick. When a man is furious, he has extraordinary strength. Fang Qiuyan was kicked so hard that her internal organs seemed to be dislocated. The severe pain almost made her faint. The man seemed to be still unsatisfied and kicked her hard a few more times. All right, stop kicking me. It won't be fun if I kill him." The short and fat man also hated Fang Qiuyan to death. But he didn't like playing with dead bodies, so he spoke up to stop them. Hearing this, the tall and thin man finally stopped, but he was still not satisfied, so he covered his burning eyes and said to the short and fat man, "Skin her naked." The short and fat man was waiting for these words. Upon hearing them, he started to tear off Fang Qiuyan's clothes without saying a word. Only a swish sound was heard, and the sound of clothes being torn came from the woods. Fang Qiuyan clearly screamed, but regardless of the pain in her body, she covered her torn clothes and tried to run away. But where can she run to with several men surrounding her? Another sizzle sound was heard, followed by the excited voice of the short and fat man.
duck.
"This leather is so white. I made a fortune, haha." Being held down by several men and having her clothes torn off, Fang Qiuyan was overwhelmed by boundless fear. At this moment, Apart from screaming for help, she seemed to have no way to protect herself. Is she going to die here today? Just when she was filled with despair, suddenly, a loud shout came from outside the bushes. Let her go. Hearing this familiar voice, Fang Qiuyan widened her eyes in disbelief. Is it Lu Jingsong? How come he is here? Today, Lu Jingsong went to the factory to find Fang Qiuyan as usual. I waited for a long time, but she didn't come out. After asking, I found out that she had gone to the county town and had not returned yet. Worried that it would be unsafe for her to come back too late, he immediately ran along the road to look for her. But he never expected that when he was less than half the distance to the factory, he heard her scream of terror. Knowing that she was in danger, Lu Jingsong was shocked and angry. She ran over as if she had lost her life, but was horrified to see that she was pinned down by a man. With a boom, Lu Jingsong's sanity collapsed on the spot. Rushing into the woods like a fly, he swung his fists like sandbags and beat those beasts like crazy. Dare to touch my wife? I will beat you beasts to death today. Several men had their eyes damaged by the pepper spray and couldn't see anything clearly. They couldn't even run away. In addition, Lu Jingsong had been to the front line before, and he was furious at the moment. Soon, several men were beaten half to death by him. They could only beg for mercy in pain. Ah! It hurts. Ah! Spare my life. I was wrong. Soldier comrade, please let me go. Moment Lu Jingsong appeared, something that Fang Qiuyan had been holding on to in her heart began to loosen. Her vision gradually became blurred as she watched him catch a few hooligans and beat and kick them like crazy. He came to rescue her? Is she okay? After learning that she was saved, Fang Qiuyan cried with joy. But seeing his red eyes, she became anxious again. Covering her clothes, she endured the pain, climbed up, walked to the man, and pulled his clothes. That's enough. Stop hitting them, or they'll die. Their deaths are not a pity, but Fang Qiuyan cannot watch Lu Jingsong's future ruined by these scumbags. However, Lu Jingsong's mind was filled with the image of Fang Qiuyan being pinned down by several thugs. Anger had taken over his entire mind, and he could not hear any sound from outside. With bloodshot eyes, he beat the scum in front of him desperately. Seeing that the short and fat man vomited blood, Fang Qiuyan became even more anxious. Without caring about anything else, she hugged his waist and pulled him back hard. That's enough, Jingsong. Stop hitting me. Feeling the soft body behind him and hearing her crying voice, Lu Jingsong suddenly froze on the spot. The wandering rationality slowly returned.
Qiuyan?
It's Qiuyan. After his slow brain gradually realized who was hugging him from behind, he turned around abruptly and hugged her in his arms. Wife. I'm sorry I'm late. He should have come to her earlier. Why was he so late? If he had come earlier, she wouldn't have suffered this.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Holding the person in his arms tightly, he kept apologizing with a feeling of heartache and self-blame. Fang Qiuyan leaned in the man's solid embrace, feeling his two strong arms holding her tightly. An unprecedented sense of security completely relaxed her tense nerves. Smelling his sweaty scent, her vision became increasingly blurred. It's a good thing you came. If he hadn't come, Fang Qiuyan felt that she would definitely have to die here today. Several people were used one person, and she was a military wife. It was obvious that there was no way they could leave her alive. Although the men were beaten to death, their desire to survive made them subconsciously prop up their bodies and try to escape. Lu Jingsong kicked the person closest to him without even turning his head. With kicking the man down, he stepped on his crotch. Only a heart-wrenching scream of, "Ah," was heard, and the remaining people lay back and pretended to be dead on the spot, not daring to think of escaping again. Lu Jingsong retracted his foot, quickly took off his military jacket, and wrapped Fang Qiuyan tightly. Be good, wife. Wait here for a moment. I'll tie them up first. After kissing her forehead and saying something soothing, he turned and walked towards the men. When the men saw Lu Jingsong at this moment, they were trembling with fear as if they had seen a ghost. Please spare my life, fellow soldier, I will never do it again. I was wrong. Comrade soldier, please let me go. There was another round of begging for mercy. Lu Jingsong didn't even look at them. He stripped off their clothes one by one and tied them tightly to the tree. He was a soldier, so he knew how to tie people up to prevent them from escaping. There were 5 men in total, each standing at a tree. After they were all tied up tightly, he walked towards Fang Qiuyan. Without waiting for her to speak, he reached out and carefully picked her up. Fang Qiuyan had just been kicked to death, and now that her nerves had relaxed, she felt pain all over her body. But she was not used to crying out in pain, so she gritted her teeth and endured it. However, even though she didn't cry out in pain, Lu Jingsong still treated her like a porcelain doll, holding her gently and carefully. It was as if he was afraid of making her uncomfortable. Fang Qiuyan had just suffered such despair, and at this moment she felt the pity that seemed to hurt her to the core, and an indescribable feeling suddenly surged in her heart. Ever since the woman in his arms joined the army, Lu Jingsong has never seen her so docile. But if this docility is bought with such danger, he would rather not have it. At this moment, Lu Jingsong's hands were still shaking violently. He didn't even dare to think about what would happen to her if he didn't come to see her today. Whenever he thought of this, he felt a dull pain in his heart that made it hard to breathe. After carrying the person to the road, Lu Jingsong lifted up the bicycle and slowly put her on the back seat. The moment Fang Qiuyan sat down, she couldn't help but gasp. When Lu Jingsong heard her painful voice, his heart suddenly tightened again. "Does it hurt?" he asked anxiously. Fang Qiuyan shook her head. "It's okay, let's go back. You take me to Wanshu." When she encountered such a thing, she could only turn to Lin Wanshu, and she didn't trust anyone else. Although Lu Jingsong felt anxious and painful, he couldn't bear the pain for her. He could only hold back his heartache and let her hold him. "I'll ride slower, just bear with me." "Good." Fang Qiuyan felt pain and fatigue, but she didn't say anything and just grabbed the clothes on both sides of his waist. The bicycle slowly pedaled to its feet, leaving a few scumbags with their mouths gagged moaning in the woods. It was completely dark when we returned to the family compound. After Lu Jingsong sent her to Lin Wanshu's clinic, he hurried out with Qin Yan. Lin Wanshu saw Fang Qiuyan's miserable appearance. She was immediately shocked. "Qiuyan, what's going on? What happened to you?" When she saw her, Fang Qiuyan's eyes immediately turned red. Unable to hold back, she hugged Lin Wanshu and started crying. What she just experienced was a nightmare she could never imagine in her life. She could still hold back when facing Lu Jingsong. But when facing Lin Wanshu, all her fear and terror were released uncontrollably. Seeing her like this, how could Lin Wanshu not guess what was going on? Suddenly, she felt extremely distressed. Reaching out to hug her slender body, she comforted her with a trembling voice. "It's okay. It's okay. You are safe now. We are here. Don't be afraid." But Fang Qiuyan was so frightened that she couldn't stop crying. Lin Wanshu also knew that she needed to vent, so she kept hugging her and comforting her. Only after her emotions had completely calmed down did she take out a handkerchief and wipe her tears. "Can I check your injuries?" Fang Qiuyan's eyes were swollen from crying. Upon hearing this, she nodded embarrassedly. She was still wearing Lu Jingsong's military jacket. Lin Wanshu came in just now. She had already closed the door. Afraid that someone might come in and see something, she pulled the curtain again and then helped her take off her uniform. As soon as she took off her military uniform, Lin Wanshu couldn't help but gasp. It turned out that her shirt had been torn to shreds. Her originally fair skin was now covered with bruises and crisscrossing red marks. Lin Wanshu guessed what happened to her. She couldn't help but tear up when she saw it with her own eyes.
"Beast."
She gritted her teeth and squeezed out 2 words. She was so angry that her whole body was shaking. Fang Qiuyan had just cried, but now her emotions have calmed down. Seeing Lin Wanshu so angry, she was afraid that it would affect the fetus in her belly, so she quickly comforted her. "I'm fine, Wanshu. Don't be angry. Those people have been caught, and they won't have a good end." But how could Lin Wanshu not be angry? What kind of beast could do such a cruel thing? Looking at the injuries on her body, she felt so heartbroken that she burst into tears. I'm sorry, Chuyen, if it weren't for me, you wouldn't have encountered this. She shouldn't have been given so much work to do. Hearing this, Fang Chuyen immediately became anxious.
No,
I wanted to do it myself. Even if I were given another chance, I would go to the county without hesitation. I miscalculated this time. If the man hadn't been pepper sprayed, I would have run away. For Fang Chuyen, work is her life. How could she blame Lin Wanshu for assigning her these tasks just because of this? Lin Wanshu didn't know that she would come back so late this time. In order to let her protect herself, she prepared pepper spray for self-defense early on and taught her several times, for fear that she wouldn't know how to use it. She has thought so much about herself. How could she possibly blame her? Wanshu, never blame yourself.
you don't know how important you are to me.
Without her, there would be no Fang Chuyen today. To say that she is one's adoptive parent. Lin Wanshu looked at Fang Chuyen, who was obviously covered in wounds, but was still trying her best to comfort her, and she felt a mixture of emotions in her heart. She wiped her tears and said nothing more. She gently pulled her hand over and took her pulse. Because she can sense the veins, Lin Wanshu now uses pulse diagnosis as X-ray. And it turns out that her skill is indeed very useful. After taking her pulse for a while, Lin Wanshu discovered that Fang Chuyen had suffered serious internal injuries. She was already extremely angry, and now she wished she could cut those scum into pieces. How could he be so cruel to a woman? Looking at it for a while, a hint of surprise appeared on her face. After the surprise, she visibly breathed a sigh of relief. Wanshu, what's going on? Can I still go to work tomorrow? Fang Chuyen is most concerned about is her work. Hearing this, Lin Wanshu choked, and suddenly a feeling of helplessness surged in her heart. No, you are seriously injured. You need to rest for at least a week. You should stay in the family quarters this week so that I can treat you more conveniently. When Fang Chuyen heard that it would take a week to return to the factory, her face immediately fell.
Ah!
It takes so long. Dear Wanshu, can you be faster? Holding Lin Wanshu's hand, she couldn't help but act coquettishly. Lin Wanshu, don't even think about it. There's nothing urgent going on recently, so let Hualan do your job for now. Both of them are factory managers, but Fang Chuyen is in charge of more detailed tasks. Because Ji Hualan also has to take care of the affairs of the family compound, her focus is not on the factory. Mainly responsible for coordinating matters between various units. After being flatly rejected, Fang Chuyen gave up and decided to take good care of her injuries and try to go back to work as soon as possible. Seeing that she was obedient, Lin Wanshu was satisfied. I started applying medicine for her external injuries. They are all ointments that promote blood circulation and remove blood stasis. Both of them were women, so there was nothing to be shy about. Fang Chuyen just lay on the bed, wearing only her underwear while she applied the medicine. Lin Wanshu applied the medicine. She went back to her room and found a set of clothes for her. Her wardrobe contains clothes of various styles, even the most common gray shirts and black pants. Almost everyone in the family compound has one of these clothes, so she wouldn't attract attention if she wore it. After Fang Chuyen changed her clothes with the help of Lin Wanshu and tied her hair again, she finally breathed a sigh of relief. It was almost 8 o'clock when Lu Jingsong finally came back. When he entered the room, his dark expression softened the moment he saw Fang Chuyen. Seeing that she had even changed her clothes, he quickly said to Lin Wanshu, "Thank you, sister-in-law.
Don't be polite.
This is medicine for her wounds. Take it home and boil it for her to drink." Lin Wanshu handed him another dose of internal medicine and then told Lu Jingsong about Fang Chuyen's injury. When Lu Jingsong heard that Fang Chuyen was injured internally from being kicked, he unconsciously clenched his hands into fists with an expression as if he wanted to eat someone. Took a deep breath, barely suppressing the violent emotion, and nodded. "Okay, I understand." After saying that, he bent down and carefully picked up Fang Chuyen from the bed. Fang Chuyen was in so much pain all over her body, but she didn't try to be brave. She just quietly let him carry her back. Couple came out of the clinic. they saw Dohua and Xiao Miaomiao sitting in a row on the steps. Xiao Miaomiao raised one hand high and placed it on Dohua's shoulder, patting him and speaking in a baby voice to comfort him. "Don't cry, sister. Don't cry." But this comfort was of no use. Dohua still kept crying.
Wow, Mom.
"I want Mom." Dohua never waited for her mother to pick her up today. Thinking of the last time she saw her mother at home, she went home by herself. "But I didn't expect that this time not only my mother was not there, but even my father was not there. I waited at home for a long time, but still didn't see anyone." Seeing that it was getting dark, she had no choice but to come to Lin Wanshu and ask her for help. "I didn't expect that when I just came here, I would run into my father, who was rushing out." Dad told her that Mom was injured and Aunt Wanshu was treating her, and asked her not to go in and disturb her. Dohua has been waiting at the door until now. She was so young that she could not understand what it meant to be hurt, but she was scared when she heard her mother crying inside. But she still remembered what her father said, that she could not go in and disturb Aunt Wanshu's treatment. In this way, she could only stand at the door and cry silently. Even when Sun Shifeng brought her food, she refused to eat. When Xiao Miaomiao saw her sister crying, she came over to comfort her. The two little ones sat at the door, until Lu Jingsong came back in a hurry and hurried into the clinic. Dohua saw that her father looked very unhappy and wanted to follow him in, but the door was locked again. Finally, she couldn't hold it back anymore and burst into tears. Fang Chuyen, who had just escaped death, was so frightened that she was unable to take care of her daughter for a while. Hearing Dohua sobbing at this moment, she felt so heartbroken. "Dohua, Mom is here, I'm fine, don't cry." Hearing this, Dohua was stunned.
Mom.
"Mom? Is she okay? Won't she die like Xiaohua's mother in the village?" Fang Chuyen endured the pain and waved to her. "Come back with Mom and Dad." After hearing this, Dohua finally believed that she was really fine. Her eyes, she nodded solemnly. After saying that, she waved to Miao Miao and then followed her parents. Along the way, Lu Jingsong didn't say a word, and Fang Chuyen could clearly feel his unclear emotions. Having just experienced such a horrible thing, even though he had cried in front of Lin Wanshu, that kind of fear could not be eliminated in a short time. Just because she was afraid that Dohua would worry, she forced herself to respond. After finally getting home, Fang Chuyen was exhausted. Leaning on Lu Jingsong's chest, she fell into a deep sleep. Therefore, she did not notice that she was being carried into the room full of masculine scent. Lu Jingsong carefully placed the person on the bed and covered him with a quilt. Only then did the gloomy emotion in his eyes reveal itself a little. Looking at the pale-faced woman, his hands were shaking badly. If he didn't have to cook for the mother and daughter, he wouldn't want to go out at all. He just wanted to stay here and watch over them. Dohua also stood beside the bed, looking at her mother eagerly, her big eyes filled with tears. "Mom looks so weak, is she really okay?" The father and daughter stayed by the bed in tacit understanding. It was unknown how long it had passed before Lu Jingsong stood up and stretched out his hand towards Dohua. "Dad will take you to cook." His voice was unusually hoarse, and Dohua could barely make out what he was saying. She doesn't want to leave her mother, she just wants to stay here with her mother. However, Dohua is essentially still a child who is used to obeying the orders of adults. Although she wanted to stay, she finally followed her father. Fang Chuyen slept very uneasily. Just as she fell asleep, the silver laughter of those gangsters rang out in her dream again. But this time, Lu Jingsong did not show up. In the dream, she was terrified and desperate and could only helplessly allow herself to be humiliated by a few scumbags. "Don't want." As soon as Lu Jingsong walked in with the egg porridge, he saw her waving her hands wildly. It was as if something terrible had happened to him. That miserable and pitiful look was like a blunt knife that cruelly cut Lu Jingsong's heart. He rushed into the room quickly, put down the egg porridge, and hugged the person in his arms with heartache. It's okay. Don't be afraid, my wife. The hooligans have been arrested." But Fang Chuyen, who was being hugged, struggled even harder. "Let me go. Help." She pushed him away, shouting for help as if she was terrified. Wife, it's me, I'm Lu Jingsong. Open your eyes and look. Lu Jingsong thought his heart had become numb from the pain, but at this moment, he still couldn't bear it. Looking at the woman trapped in a nightmare, he didn't know what to do with her. I could only hold her in my arms and coax her gently. Don't be afraid, my wife. Don't be afraid. I'm here. No one will bully you anymore. While coaxing her, he kissed her hair and cheeks. It was not known whether his gentle coaxing had worked, but Fang Qiuyan's struggle gradually stopped. Lu Jingsong suddenly felt like crying for joy. His burning gaze stared at the woman in his arms, and after a moment, his crow-feather-like eyelashes trembled slightly. Lu Jingsong subconsciously held his breath and dared not say another word. But just when he thought she was about to open her eyes, suddenly, the woman buried her head in his chest. The little hand that was originally hanging by his side was also placed on his waist. With a bang, Lu Jingsong felt as if his heart was hit hard. Then, my heart began to beat wildly at an incredible speed. She hugged him? She actually took the initiative to hug him? Lu Jingsong couldn't believe his eyes, but the warm breath from his chest told him that it was real. She actually took the initiative to hug him. Unable to help himself, he tightened his grip and pressed her little head against his chest again. There was a sigh of satisfaction in his mouth.
Wife.
Wife turned red as she listened to his low voice. But she didn't say a word, like an ostrich, pretending that it wasn't her who took the initiative to hug the person. Lu Jingsong noticed her little awkwardness, but didn't expose it. After hugging her contentedly for a while, he finally lifted her up from the bed. Are you hungry? I cooked some egg porridge for you. Fang Qiuyan saw that he was holding her on his lap like a child, and now he was even feeding her porridge? She immediately felt extremely ashamed. I don't want it. Her voice was still a little hoarse, her face was red, and she stared at him with embarrassment and anger. If people knew that he fed her porridge like this, would she still be able to live as a human being? But Lu Jingsong was very frightened today. He wished he could hold her in his hands and cherish her, and he was unwilling to let her move even a finger. You are still injured, and my sister-in-law asked me to take good care of you. Fang Qiuyan. Lin Wanshu did ask him to take care of her, but she didn't ask him to treat her like a child, right? I want to eat it myself, otherwise I won't eat it. Too embarrassed to let him feed her like this, Fang Qiuyan turned her head away, looking uncooperative. Hearing this, a trace of regret flashed across Lu Jingsong's face. In the end, he had no choice but to put the person on the stool helplessly.
Well.
Okay, I'll go make some medicine for you. If you feel uncomfortable, call me. Having said that, he went out reluctantly. Fang Qiuyan. I realized he was such a clingy person before, but when she thought of his gesture that seemed to hurt her deeply, her heart began to beat wildly, uncontrollably. After nearly dying today, Fang Qiuyan completely let go of her previous entanglement and shyness. Admittedly, she still cared about the fact that he once liked Fang Dongxue so much. But compared to the past, she now wants to look forward. Regardless of whether they can be together in the end, at least at this moment, she is willing to try to be with him. Even if this relationship changes one day, she now has the ability to bear all the consequences. Her confidence comes from her work and her ability to gain a foothold in this society. Thinking of this, Fang Qiuyan was no longer troubled, and her eyes suddenly became clear. I don't know how long it took, but Lu Jingsong came back. Not only was he holding tofu pudding in one hand, he was also holding a bowl in the other. After entering the house, he first put the bowl on the table. Then, gently placed the tofu pudding on the bed. Fang Qiuyan was surprised to see that Dohua had fallen asleep. How did she fall asleep so quickly? Lu Jingsong was silent for a moment before he said, I coaxed her. Fang Qiuyan. It was just a simple sentence, but Fang Qiuyan couldn't help blushing. He could obviously let the child go back to the room to sleep, so why did he insist on coaxing the child to sleep before bringing him back? It's hard not to doubt his intentions. But Lu Jingsong has now developed a thick skin as thick as a city wall. Fang Qiuyan ignored him a few days ago, but he still stuck to her. Not to mention that she just hugged him. Meeting her accusing eyes, Lu Jingsong was not at all embarrassed by having his thoughts seen through. He picked up the medicine and handed it to her. This medicine is no longer hot. You can just drink it directly. Good. After figuring it out, Fang Qiuyan stopped being pretentious and took the medicine and started drinking it. Fang Qiuyan deals with the medicinal materials for this medicine a lot in her daily life. It doesn't smell like anything if they're alone, but when you cook them together, the smell is indescribably weird. It tastes bitter and astringent. Even though she was used to suffering, she couldn't help but frown. Lu Jingsong just stood aside and watched, without moving his eyes. It is said that beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, and Fang Qiuyan is quite good-looking. Even the frowning expression looked pitiful and cute in Lu Jingsong's eyes. As if he already knew that the medicine tasted bad. After she finished drinking it, he took out a few red dates from his pocket and handed them to her. Eat some red dates to help with the smell. I'll go wash the dishes and get you some water to clean it. Having said that, he went out with the bowl. After a while, another basin was brought back. It was so fast that Fang Qiuyan hadn't even swallowed a single red date. He had already wrung out the towel and was ready to wipe her. Fang Qiuyan, leave it there, I'll do it myself. You go out and wait for a moment. She knew that he was good at climbing up the pole, but she never expected that he would go so far. Fang Qiuyan felt that if she didn't stop him, he wouldn't know what to do next. Seeing that she didn't wipe it for him, Lu Jingsong sighed with regret. In the end, I could only put down the towel, turn around and go out and close the door. She didn't know if it was because the medicine Lin Wanshu prescribed for her had a pain-relieving effect, but not long after she drank a bowl of medicine, she felt that the pain all over her body was relieved a lot. Unbuttoning her clothes, she wrung out the towel and roughly wiped the uninjured parts of herself. After wiping it, she felt much more comfortable all over. She asked Lu Jingsong to fetch another basin of water, and she also wiped Dohua's body. Finishing all this, it was already 10 o'clock. Fang Qiuyan had just taken a nap and was not sleepy at all. Lu Jingsong was even more energetic and had no intention of sleeping at all. Just now, while Fang Qiuyan was wiping Dohua's body, he also quickly took a bath himself. Now the family of 3 were lying in one bed, and his heart was filled with joy. Especially since he had just placed Dohua at the innermost side, it meant that Fang Qiuyan was sleeping next to him. Beds in those days were not very big. After a family of 3 could barely sleep on them, there was no space at all in the middle. His arm touched her soft arm, and his heart was beating heavily again and again. Who was lying next to him was also extremely stiff. One reason is that I will be sleeping in the same bed with a man tonight. Secondly, it was because of what she was about to say. Originally, she had no plan to continue with him, and she didn't care whether Fang Dongshua's matter was mentioned or not. But at this moment, she suddenly felt like she didn't know how to start. Lu Jingsong put his whole body and soul into her. How could he not sense that she was hesitant to speak? But he didn't know that she was going to talk about Fang Dongxue and thought that she was so reluctant to talk about it because of what happened this afternoon. When he thought of a scene that made his eyes water, Lu Jingsong felt a dull pain, as if he couldn't breathe. Unable to hold back, he turned around, gently hugged her in his arms, and comforted her in a somewhat clumsy voice. "Wife, what happened this afternoon is over.
Well, just think of it as a dog bite.
Don't be sad. I will make those scumbags pay the price." Fang Qiuyan was still thinking about Fang Dongxue. She was a little slow to react when she heard this. What was bitten by a dog? She blinked, confusion on her face. The room was dim, and the lighting was not very good. In addition, she was held in his arms, so Lu Jingsong could not see her expression. Seeing that she didn't say anything, he thought she was sad and continued. "Wife, you are not wrong. It's those beasts who are wrong." The word, beast, seemed to be squeezed out from between teeth, making people feel cold and frightened. Don't feel any burden in your heart. To me, you are as pure and flawless as the snow lotus on the Tianshan mountain. The man's words of comfort were clumsy. They were serious and sincere. Fang Qiuyan finally understood what he meant from his stumbling words of comfort. Did he think those people succeeded? So, he was afraid that she would feel burdened? In an instant, an indescribable feeling filled my heart. She knew clearly that she had not been abused, but he didn't know about it. However, he had no grudge at all, and even comforted her. You have to know that when something like this happens, almost no man can accept that his wife has lost her innocence. Even though she was a victim, to men, she had still been violated. It's cruel, but it's the truth. In this conservative era, a woman's reputation is more important than anything else. Once you lose your innocence, no matter if you have been violated or not, drops of saliva can drown you. And he actually thought that she was violated, and he coaxed her with pity, comforted her, and told her that she was not wrong, and it was those scumbags who were wrong. Such words made it difficult for Fang Qiuyan not to be moved. No matter what the future holds, at least at this moment, she has been deeply moved by him. Unable to hold back, she raised her head and kissed those slightly thick lips. Lu Jingsong was nervously comforting the person in his arms, fearing that she would suffer some indelible psychological trauma. Who would have thought that his voice would be suddenly blocked by a woman's soft and sweet red lips? Boom! His mind went blank. She kissed him? She actually kissed him? Lu Jingsong felt that his brain was lacking oxygen, and his whole body began to feel dizzy. With a heart full of joy that he had no place to vent, he couldn't help but growl and kissed the tempting red lips deeply. I don't know how long it took, but a woman's vague voice was heard in the quiet room.
They didn't
Succeed. At this moment, Lu Jingsong seemed to be floating in the clouds and had no idea what day it was. How can I hear what she is saying? When his brain finally received the information, he suddenly stopped and looked at her with his eyes fixed. Wife, what did you say? Fang Qiuyan looked at his stupid expression and suddenly felt like teasing him. I didn't say anything. There was a smile on the corner of her lips, her eyebrows curved into two crescents, and she turned her head away with evil intentions. Where had Lu Jingsong ever seen her be so naughty? He suddenly felt a little bit dead. Unable to hold back, he kissed her again. My dear wife, what did you say just now? Say it again. But what responded to him was the rebellious voice of a woman. No. Lu Jingsong felt uncomfortable being hung there and wanted to tickle her, but considering that she was still injured, he was helpless to do anything about her for a moment. In the end, it was Fang Qiuyan who was kind enough to stop torturing the man. I said. They didn't succeed. Hearing this, Lu Jingsong was stunned. After a long while, he seemed to realize what she meant, and he suddenly hugged her into his arms. Great, you're okay? The afternoon, he didn't dare to look at her at all, so he hurriedly took off his clothes and wrapped her up. After experiencing the pain of almost losing her, how could Lu Jingsong care about so-called innocence? For him, it was the greatest luck that she could be alive in front of him. But she told him now that she was fine? Those people didn't succeed? How happy he was. Fang Qiuyan couldn't help but get stuck in a rut. Huh, you still care. Having said that, she turned away somewhat unhappily. Lu Jingsong hadn't even gotten excited for a moment when he was knocked to the ground with a bang. My heart was suddenly tormented. But looking at her angry little face, he inexplicably found her so cute. With a sigh in his heart, he shamelessly hugged her into his arms again. Wife, be honest, if something like that really happened and I were to rub salt into your wounds, would I still be a man? Fang Qiuyan didn't listen and still turned her face away. He sighed again, paused, and then continued. What has happened cannot be reversed. I am only sad that I failed to protect you. How can I care? But I have to admit that I am an ordinary man. I am happy that I can have you all to myself. The man's deep, magnetic voice with a scalding breath penetrated into her eardrums. Fang Qiuyan felt as if she had been electrocuted all over her body, and even her toes couldn't help but curl up. It is said that sincerity is always the ultimate skill. His undisguised possessiveness not only did not disgust Fang Qiuyan, but instead gave her an indescribable feeling. The ambiguous and overbearing word, exclusive, made her blush and her heart beat fast. Even his originally stiff body softened unconsciously. Lu Jingsong felt it, and his blood boiled again. Their 20s are full of vigor and vitality. When the woman he had been thinking about so long was just lying so obediently in his arms. But because she had just gone through such a thing and her body was covered with wounds, he didn't dare to do anything excessive. Even though his whole body was as tense as a rock, he still endured it. Fang Qiuyan noticed something, and her face suddenly became so hot that she could fry an egg on it. "You jerk!" Secretly cursing in her heart, she finally remembered what she had not said just now. After preparing herself for it in her heart, she paused before she spoke. "There is something I have always wanted to tell you, but I don't know whether I should say it or not." Hearing her somewhat serious voice, Lu Jingsong was stunned at first. Then he put away the wandering thoughts in his mind and looked down at her. "What's up?" Fang Qiuyan bit her lip, still finding it difficult to speak. "Although I was 70% to 80% sure, I didn't have any real evidence after all." Would he feel that he was deliberately discrediting Fang Dongxue? But she really wanted to know what his reaction would be. Finally, after taking a deep breath, she said, "About what happened that night." "Which night?" Lu Jingsong's mind was still on the days in the staff quarters, and he hadn't thought about what happened in his hometown, so he asked in confusion. Fang Qiuyan. If it weren't for the fact that his expression was a little confused, she would have thought he did it on purpose. After grinding her teeth, she said quickly, "It was the night you and Fang Dongxue got engaged." Whenever Lu Jingsong heard Fang Dongxue's words, his scalp went numb reflexively. "Wife, that's all in the past. I promise you, I will stay away from her from now on." Although he was indeed unfair to Fang Dongxue, he also gave her some compensation, so the matter was over. He could no longer bear it, and the woman in his arms asked for a divorce. Seeing his nervous expression, Fang Qiuyan felt helpless. "That's not what I want to tell you." Hearing that she was not going to bring up old matters, Lu Jingsong finally breathed a sigh of relief. "So what did you tell me?" Fang Qiuyan considered her words carefully before asking, "Didn't you feel something was wrong that night?" Hearing this, Lu Jingsong quickly realized that there seemed to be some important information in her words, and his expression suddenly became serious. "What's wrong?" Fang Qiuyan blushed slightly, and after a pause, she suppressed her shame and said, "Wan Shu said that when a man is really drunk, he can't do things." Hearing this, Lu Jingsong was stunned on the spot. What did this mean? She suspected that he took advantage of her while drunk and was putting the blame on her? But looking at her expression, it seemed that it was not what he thought. Lu Jingsong's mind worked rapidly, and he soon thought of something. "You mean the drink was the problem, and I wasn't actually drunk?" Lu Jingsong told Fang Dongxue that he seldom drank and had never been drunk. Therefore, the people from the Fang family only persuaded him to drink a bowl of wine that day and did not persuade him again. But after drinking this bowl of wine, Lu Jingsong felt a little groggy. He had never experienced being drunk, and he didn't know what it was like. After finishing his meal, he still felt dizzy, so he was helped into a room to rest. When he woke up again, he saw Fang Qiuyan beside him, and both of them were together. Then it was chaos. Fang Qiuyan nodded, and then told him Lin Wanshu's guess. Hearing this, Lu Jingsong suddenly propped himself up and stared at her. "You mean we might have been tricked?" Now that things had come to this, Fang Qiuyan no longer concealed the fact that she had received the news. She told Lu Jingsong that Fang Dongxue had been in contact with a male-educated youth who dumped her for a long time, and that the reason she entered the wrong room on the night of their engagement was because she heard Fang Dongxue calling her. After hearing this, Lu Jingsong's face turned dark. "You already knew this?" Hearing this, Fang Qiuyan felt a little uneasy, but she still said, softly. Lu Jingsong gritted his teeth. "You knew it, but you didn't tell me? And you want to divorce me?" Even though she knew that it was Fang Dongxue who plotted against him, she still wanted to leave him. Lu Jingsong stared at her intently. His heart felt like there was a hole in it, and the cold wind was whistling. Do I have even the slightest place in her heart? However, when Fang Qiuyan heard his questioning, she couldn't help but get angry. "Why should I tell you? Don't you like Fang Dongxue? You sent her so many things." You only have 7 days of vacation, and you spent 6 days on the road. You still wanted to come back to see her. I divorced you, isn't it, just to make it happen? Fang Qiuyan. Before he could finish his words, he heard the man's voice coming out from between his teeth. The next second, those hot lips fiercely blocked her lips. The man was probably really angry, and the kiss seemed to swallow her alive. Fang Qiuyan was kissed so hard that she could hardly breathe. Her mind soon became groggy. How could she remember the quarrel just now? She could only let him plunder her. I don't know how long it was before the man's kiss finally slowed down. Lu Jingsong was angry and upset, but he didn't know what to do with her. He could only kiss her nonstop, as if only this could fill the hole in his heart.
Wife.
Wife. While kissing, he called out softly. How could Fang Qiuyan resist? She responded to him obediently in a daze. When Lu Jingsong heard this, he suddenly felt his heart filled with joy. I don't know how long it was before he finally stopped, but he still couldn't bear to leave, so he kissed her again and said, Wife, don't mention those 2 words again. I can't stand it. He couldn't bear to hear her say that she wanted to divorce him. When he thought about her leaving him and marrying another man, Lu Jingsong felt like he was half dead. Fang Qiuyan's lips were swollen from being kissed. After hearing these words, how could she dare to mention those 2 words again? But I still can't help feeling a little jealous in my heart. Turning her head away, she said unhappily, It depends on your performance. Hearing this, Lu Jingsong was angry and anxious, but he could do nothing about her. Finally, he bit her lips in hatred. You are really going to kill me? How can it be so annoying? Don't take it lightly or too seriously. If you are unhappy, just ignore him. Lu Jingsong felt that this was his retribution, but he was happy with it. Finally, with a long sigh, he gently held the person in his arms. Wife, I don't deny the fact that I sent something to Fang Dongxue. After all, she and I were still in a relationship at that time, and it would be unreasonable for me to not express my gratitude to her. But that is a thing of the past, and she has nothing to do with me in the future. And the 7 days you mentioned were not actually a holiday but a leave I asked for. My brother had an accident, and my family asked me to go back to help. As for Fang Dongxue, we just ran into each other on the road and didn't say a few words at all. He had a good impression of Fang Dongxue at that time. He couldn't bear to travel back and forth with only 7 days off. After listening to his earnest explanation, Fang Qiuyan finally let go of half of the grudge in her heart. She is a human being, not a god, so it is impossible for her to be completely indifferent. However, it was a fact that he and Fang Dongxue had dated. Unless she didn't want him anymore, she could only accept his past, let it go, and move on. Thinking of this, she didn't say anything else. Seeing that her expression had softened, Lu Jingsong couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. If he had known that one day she would become the apple of his eye, he should have won her over sooner rather than wasting so many years. Fortunately, there is still time. Gently kissing her hair, Lu Jingsong recalled what they had not finished talking about just now. I will investigate what happened that night. If I'm sure she did it, I will make her pay the price. When Lu Jingsong thought of the eye drops Fang Dongxue used on him, he hated her. If she hadn't kept hinting that it was Fang Qiuyan who had climbed into his bed, how could he have misunderstood her for so many years? But besides hating Fang Dongxue, Lu Jingsong also looked down on himself. Was he so stupid to be played around by a woman? Badly cheated by a scumbag, Fang Qiuyan had no sympathy at all. Compared with the suffering she and Do Hua had endured, what was this little setback of hers? On the other side, Su Menjing finally woke up after being in a coma for a day and a night. Before I opened my eyes, I heard a piercing scream in my mind.
Ah!
Su Menjing, you finally woke up. Something terrible is happening. Hearing this, Su Menjing's heart skipped a beat. What's the big deal? Also, what happened to her? Why did she feel so much pain all over? Especially her left leg, it hurt so much that she almost fainted. When you were unconscious, Ding Xia already suspected that you were not her biological child.
What did you say?
Su Menjing also screamed in her mind. How is it possible? How did she find out? Was it Fang Qiuyan? When she thought of this possibility, she wished she could chew that woman alive. Just as she was thinking this, Su Menjing suddenly remembered something and asked anxiously, "Did those people finish the job? How is Feng Qiuya now? Everyone knows that she was used, right?" She didn't mention this. As soon as she mentioned it, Qiqi almost exploded. "How dare you say that? I told you to tell them that it would be enough to just destroy Feng Qiuyan's reputation. But you refused to listen and insisted on letting them use her. Now they've all been arrested." Heard that the gang of hooligans had been arrested, her face turned pale as a ghost. How could it be? With so many of them, how could they not be able to deal with a woman? How can it be enough to just take off her clothes and ruin her reputation? Su Menjing just wanted to see her fall into the dust and become mud that everyone laughed at and trampled on. Obviously, I have learned my lesson, and the people I found are all tough guys. But Qiqi told her now that they all failed. Believe it or not, that woman was very cunning. She brought pepper spray to delay time, and finally Lu Jingsong arrived in time and rescued her. The more she talked, the more disappointed she became. In the end, Qiqi no longer had any hope for Su Menjing. Without hesitation, he began to quietly absorb her luck. She had to find an opportunity to get away from her and find a new host. Su Menjing didn't know Qiqi's plan yet, and at this moment she was like an ant on a hot pan. Keep saying, "What should I do? What should I do?" If those people reveal that she was the one who ordered this, then everything will be over. "Qiqi, help me again." Hearing this, Qiqi almost laughed out of anger. "Help you? What can I help you with? I have helped you so many times. Have you ever given me anything in return? You have wasted all my energy." Seeing that she was unwilling to help herself, Su Menjing collapsed. "How can you not help me? What good will it do you if something happens to me? It is indeed of no benefit, but what can Qiqi do? If Su Menjing wasn't such a waste, would I be becoming more and more passive?" Qiqi was too lazy to pay attention to her and had completely given up. Seeing that she didn't respond to her, Su Menjing became more and more panicked. "Speak up. Speak up. Why don't you speak?" But even after she yelled her throat out, Qiqi didn't say anything. It was as if the voice in her mind that used to teach her how to do this, and that was just an illusion. No, she couldn't just sit here and wait for death. Was exposed, she would be completely finished, and there would be no chance of turning things around. Thinking of this, Su Menjing hurriedly tried to force herself to get out of bed. But she was seriously injured, and she didn't know how long the bamboo strips had been in the trap. Even after taking medicine and stopping the bleeding, my legs still hurt. Not only did it hurt, but it also felt like it was about to get inflamed. Su Menjing had just sat up, and before her feet even touched the ground, she almost fainted from the pain. At this moment, Ding Suya also came in from the door. Seeing Su Menjing sitting up, her expression was complicated. All along, everyone said that Su Menjing was not like herself or old Su, but Ding Suya never doubted that she was not her biological daughter. "Just regret that I couldn't teach her well. But I had confirmed with old Su yesterday that he does have type O blood, which means that Su Menjing can basically be sure that she is not their daughter." Su Weilin couldn't accept this fact at first, so he went to the hospital to have another blood test and consulted a doctor. The answer obtained was the same as Ding Suya's own judgment: for a couple with type O blood to give birth to an AB-type child. Knowing that Su Menjing was not her child, Ding Suya no longer knew how to face her, especially after she said so many hurtful words before she quarreled with him. When Su Menjing saw Ding Suya, she felt like she had found a life-saving straw. He grabbed her hand and started crying.
"Mom,
"You finally came to see me. I thought you didn't want me anymore." In the past, whenever Su Menjing cried, Ding Suya would become extremely nervous. But no matter how deep the feelings are, they cannot withstand such torment. What she had said to her again and again, Ding Suya could no longer feel any warmth towards Su Menjing. Patting her hands, she sighed and said, "Take good care of yourself and don't get too excited." Seeing that she was indeed cold towards her, a hint of resentment flashed in Su Menjing's eyes. Was he right? Ding Suya, was a hypocritical hypocrite. She was just pretending to be nice to me. But Su Menjing knew very well in her heart that she no longer had the qualifications to be willful. Holding Ding Xia's hand tightly, she said pitifully, "Mom, it's too scary here. I want to go home. Please take me back." At this moment, Su Menjing no longer cared about whether she was angry or unlucky. She just wanted to escape from here as soon as possible and not be discovered to have anything to do with those gangsters' affairs. To see that Su Menjing, who had refused to go back a few days ago, suddenly changed her mind. However, although she wanted to fly back immediately, she could not ignore Su Menjing's injury. The doctor said you won't be discharged from the hospital for a few more days, so just rest and don't worry too much. Although she was heartbroken, Su Menjing was raised by her after all, so even if she was angry, Ding Xia would take good care of her. Hearing that she refused to go back, Su Menjing almost went crazy. "Mom, let's go back. Didn't you say that Dad missed me at home?" This time it was Su Menjing's turn to persuade people earnestly. But when Ding Xia saw the inexplicable panic on her face, she found it very strange. In her eyes, and after a pause, she continued, "Your leg injury hasn't healed yet. Wait until the doctor says you can be discharged, and then we'll go back." Seeing that she refused to listen, Su Menjing finally couldn't hold it anymore. "Why do you always go against me? Why don't you listen to me? I said I want to go back, did you hear me? Take me back quickly." Roaring loudly, the two hands tightly grasped Ding Xia's arms. Tear off a piece of her flesh. The severe pain made Ding Xia gasp. "Let me go." "I won't. Unless you take it back now." It was she who said she couldn't go back, and it was also she who said she wanted to go back. This willful and selfish behavior made Ding Xia frown fiercely. "Su Menjing, how old are you? Can you be more sensible?" Being sensible is being sensible. Isn't it because she feels that she is not her biological daughter that she dislikes her everywhere? Chi-Chi ignored her, and she was afraid that her crime of instigating hooligans would be exposed, and her background would soon be revealed. All these things came at her at once, and Su Menjing was on the verge of collapse. At this moment, Ding Xia's words that made her sensible were like the last straw that broke the camel's back, and Su Menjing collapsed directly. The hand that was originally pinching her arm directly pinched her neck. She was so emotionally broken that she couldn't feel the pain in her legs at all. While pinching, she shook it hard. "Will you take me back? Will you take me back?" How could Ding Xia have thought that she would actually strangle her neck? She was caught off guard and was strangled by her. Cough. Cough. Let go. Help. Feeling suffocated, she tried to pry Su Menjing's hands apart and open her mouth wide, trying to breathe in some air. However, Su Menjing was now like a madman, with great strength, and Ding Xia couldn't pry her open at all, nor could she breathe in any air. "My lungs are about to explode." If he wanted to watch it, suddenly, a scream came from the door. "Su Menjing, what are you doing? Let Mom go." Seeing that Ding Xia's face had turned purple, Su Mingqi was both anxious and angry. He rushed forward and tried to pry Su Menjing's hands apart. But Su Menjing had gone completely crazy, and she couldn't pull it at all. In desperation, Su Mingqi kicked her injured leg. All I heard was a scream of "ah." Ding Xia was finally released. Ding Xia, who was almost suffocated, fell heavily to the ground. The air suddenly rushed into her chest, making her cough violently. Again after being kicked down, and she screamed in pain. But no one paid any attention to her. Ding Xia didn't expect that she would be so cruel and almost strangled her to death. Originally thought that even if he was not her biological child, at least she had raised him for 25 years. But now, she was completely disappointed. Su Mingqi became completely furious when he saw the deep red fingerprints on his mother's neck. Unable to hold back, she slapped Su Menjing's face several times. "You are such an ungrateful, heartless person. Isn't Mom good enough to you on weekdays? Why do you treat her like this? Do you know that she has had a heart attack because of you? She just took the medicine and came to take care of you, and this is how you treat her? Even if she is not her biological sister, not her mother's biological daughter." But all these years of affection are fake? How could she do such a cruel thing? When Su Mingqi thought about his mother almost being strangled to death, he wanted to beat her to death. Just then, the doctor and nurse came in after hearing the noise. Bed number 3. What's going on? Zhang Qingfeng frowned and said to Su Menjing. Not only were Su Menjing's feet bleeding, but her face was also swollen like a pig's head. When she saw Zhang Qingfeng, she felt like she had seen a savior and almost cried for joy. Doctor, please save me. My sister wants to beat me to death. She said this in a wicked way. Su Mingqi and Ding Xia both felt a chill in their hearts. Doctor, she just choked my mom's neck and almost strangled her to death. I was so angry that I beat her. Thinking of the scene just now, Su Mingqi was filled with fear. She pulled Ding Xia's collar and said to Zhang Qingfeng. Several medical staff saw that there were indeed fingerprints on Ding Xia's neck. They were immediately shocked. Removing the bandages was originally very gentle, but after learning that the man wanted to strangle her mother to death, she couldn't help but be a little more harsh. Su Menjing screamed in pain. But no one in the entire ward sympathized with her. Because she was strangled, Ding Xia was completely heartbroken. She didn't stay long and left quickly. Su Mingqi couldn't bear to kill Su Menjing alive, let alone stay here to take care of her. How to repay kindness when you repay evil with kindness. The mother and daughter left, and the doctors and nurses also left after examining and treating the wounds. He looked at his hands in disbelief. What happened? Didn't she ask Ding Xia to do it? Why did she suddenly pinch her? Now that the only way out is blocked, what should she do? Su Menjing knew that she had a bad temper, but she didn't think she was that stupid. Why can't I hold my breath? Suddenly, thinking of the luck that Qiqi was muttering, a strange idea came to my mind. Realizing something, Su Menjing screamed again. Is it you who did this? Did you suck away my luck? It must be like this. Otherwise, why would she be so unlucky? After hearing this, Qiqi finally stopped pretending to be dead. TSK, you are already 25 years old. Why are you still so naive? There is no free lunch in the world. Don't you understand this truth? How can I keep running without luck? Even a car needs oil to run, right? If she wasn't so stupid and could have gotten a man with relatively better luck early on, would she need to absorb her luck? She is her own host. What good will it do her if she has less luck? Heard that it was indeed her who did it. She almost went crazy.
Witch.
How dare you do this to me? Give my luck back to me. Although this thing cannot be seen or touched, Su Menjing has already felt the power of losing it. No wonder my brain is becoming less and less intelligent, and I often act like I'm committing suicide without even thinking. The one who secretly sucked away his luck behind his back. No more, I've used it up. Last time, I wasted a lot of energy trying to prevent Chen Fengliang from betraying you. They are now in a vicious cycle. Qiqi needs luck, and she has to draw it from Su Menjing. If Su Menjing has less luck, she will become more and more unlucky, and the luck that Qiqi can absorb will become less and less. If she absorbs too little, she cannot maintain her function, so she has to increase her absorption. Although Su Menjing's brain was becoming less and less sharp, she quickly thought of the key. No, she couldn't wait to die. Thinking of what Qiqi said, as long as she had a close relationship with Qin Yan, even if she just kissed him, she could get some luck. Su Menjing gritted her teeth and said to Qiqi, I know you must have more energy. Help me block the pain in my legs right now, and give me some information. I'm going to find Qin Yan. As long as she can get some luck, Qiqi will be able to recover, and they can form a virtuous circle again. With her help, he wouldn't have to worry about those people betraying her. However, the energy Qiqi absorbed was barely enough for herself to transfer to a new host. If she used it on Su Menjing, she would never be able to leave. Therefore, after hearing Su Menjing's request, Qiqi started pretending to be dead again. No matter how she threatened or tempted her, she remained completely unmoved. At this moment, Su Menjing was extremely desperate. Why did it turn out like this? It's obvious that when I didn't have this thing, I was already living a pretty good life. Others were starving. I could eat meat every now and then, and even make new clothes to wear. But now, she has completely ruined her own path. At this moment, Su Menjing hated this thing that came from nowhere. Okay, you won't help me, right? Then I'll kill myself right now. Don't think I don't know that if I die, you won't be in any good of it. Since she had no chance of survival, she might as well die with her, which would be a form of revenge for herself. As soon as these words were spoken, Chi-Chi, who had been pretending to be dead, screamed. You dare? Seeing that she was indeed scared, Su Menjing smiled coldly. See if I dare. Chi-Chi and she are almost one now, so she can naturally feel her strong thoughts of self-destruction. In the end, she had no choice but to grit her teeth and agree.
Well,
This is the last bit of my energy. You can't fail again this time. If you fail, we'll all be finished. Su Menjing knew this truth. Don't worry, I don't want to die either. If we work together well this time, we will definitely be able to take down Qin Yan. Even if it means using force. Discuss the matter in whispers again. On the other hand, Ding Xia was in a very low mood after turning. Although Su Menjing is not his own child, he has raised her for such a long time after all. How could she not feel uncomfortable when she was almost strangled to death? Su Menjing felt sorry for her mother and kept comforting her. After she had finally calmed down a little, Nanjing hurriedly walked in from outside. Mom, Menjing, my